When Michael Jordan's phone rang on that rainy Tuesday morning in Chicago, he never expected to hear the voice that once meant everything to him. Sophia Martinez, the girl who helped him with math homework, who believed in his basketball dreams when no one else did, who broke his heart under an oak tree 25 years ago. Now she was calling with tears in her voice, asking for something that would change everything. Her 16-year-old daughter Carmen was dying of cancer. The only treatment that could save her life cost $2 million. Money Sophia didn't have. Michael had 6 NBA championships and a billion-dollar empire. $2 million was pocket change to him. But saying yes to Sophia meant opening doors he had sealed shut for decades. It meant facing the love he never got over. It meant risking everything he had built to save a girl he had never met. What started as one desperate phone call would soon become the biggest controversy of Michael Jordan's life. Reporters would dig into his past. His marriage would crumble. The whole world would question his motives. But here's what no one knew. Michael Jordan had been waiting for Sophia's call for 25 years, and the reason why would shock everyone, including Sophia herself. Will Michael's decision to help Carmen destroy his carefully built life? And what secret has he been hiding that could change everything we think we know about this story? Michael Jordan sat behind his massive oak desk in his Chicago office, staring at the raindrops racing down the tall windows. The city looked gray and cold on this Tuesday morning. He sipped his coffee and flipped through papers that his assistant had left for him to sign. At 61 years old, Michael was still the most famous basketball player in the world. His name was on shoes, clothes, and restaurants. People still asked for his autograph everywhere. He went. But some days, like today, he felt tired of all the attention. His office was quiet, except for the soft sound of rain. Pictures of his basketball days covered the walls. 6 championship trophies sat on shelves behind his desk. Everything reminded him of his amazing career. But lately, those memories felt empty. A soft knock on his door broke the silence. "Come in," Michael called out. Mrs. Chen, his assistant, walked into the office. She had worked for Michael for 10 years. She was a small woman with kind eyes who rarely looked worried. But today, her face was full of concern. "Mr. Jordan," she said, holding a pink phone message slip in her hand. "There's a woman on the phone. She says her name is Sophia Martinez." Michael's coffee cup stopped halfway to his lips. The name hit him like a punch to the stomach. Sophia Martinez. He had not heard that name in 25 years, but it still made his heart beat faster. He set his coffee cup down with shaking hands. "Did she say what she wanted?" Mrs. Chen shook her head. "She just said she knew you in high school. She sounds upset, Mr. Jordan. She's been crying." Michael's mind raced back to 1979. Wilmington, North Carolina. Emsley A. Laney High School. A beautiful girl with dark hair and bright brown eyes. The girl who helped him with his math homework. The girl who believed in him before anyone else did. The girl whose heart he broke when he chose basketball over love. "Mr. Jordan, should I tell her you're in a meeting?" Mrs. Chen asked. Michael stared out the window at the rain. 25 years. What could Sophia want after all? This time, why was she crying? Was she in trouble? Was she hurt? "No," he said quietly. "Put her through." Mrs. Chen nodded and left the office. Michael's phone rang a few seconds later. He stared at it for 3 rings before picking it up. "Hello, Sophia." "Hello, Michael." Her voice was older now, but he knew it right away. It was the same voice that used to whisper good luck before every basketball game. The same voice that used to laugh at his jokes. The same voice that said goodbye under an oak tree 30 years ago. "It's been a long time," Michael said. 25 years, Sophia replied. He could hear that she was trying not to cry. "How did you get my number?" "I'm a doctor now. I have connections." She paused. "Michael, I know this is strange. I know I have no right to call you after all these years, but I need your help." Michael's chest felt tight. "What's wrong?" "It's my daughter, Carmen. She's 16. Sophia's voice broke. "She's dying, Michael. She has cancer, and the doctors say there's only one treatment that might save her. But it's experimental. It costs $2 million. I don't have that kind of money." Michael closed his eyes. A 16-year-old girl was dying. Sophia's daughter. The woman he once loved more than anything in the world was watching her child fade away. "I'm sorry, Sophia. That's terrible." "I've tried everything," Sophia continued. "I've sold my house. I've borrowed money from everyone I know. I've begged the insurance company. Nothing works. This treatment is Carmen's only chance, but I can't afford it." Michael's hands were shaking now. "Why are you calling me?" There was a long silence. Then Sophia said the words that would change everything. "Because you're the only person I know who has that kind of money. And because..." Her voice got very quiet. "Because you're the only person who ever promised to help me if I needed it." Michael's memory flashed back to a night in 1979. He was 18 years old, holding Sophia's hand under their favorite oak tree. "If you ever need anything," he had told her, "anything at all, just call me. I'll always be there for you." So had meant it then. But that was before college, before the NBA, before fame changed everything. "Michael, are you still there?" Sophia asked. "I'm here," he whispered. "I know I hurt you when we broke up. I know you probably hate me. But Carmen is innocent. She's beautiful and smart and funny. She wants to be a writer someday. She doesn't deserve to die because her mother can't afford to save her." Michael stared out his window at the gray Chicago sky. Somewhere out there, a 16-year-old girl was fighting for her life. Sophia's daughter, the child of the only woman he had ever truly loved. "Where are you?" he asked. "Los Angeles." "I'll call you back in an hour," Michael said. "Michael, thank you for even listening." 1 hour, Sophia. He hung up the phone and sat back in his chair. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside his office, surrounded by all his trophies and awards, Michael Jordan felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like that scared 18-year-old boy again. The one who had promised a girl named Sophia Martinez that he would always be there for her. Now, 25 years later, she was asking him to keep that promise. Michael stared at his phone for a long time after hanging up with Sophia. The rain outside his window seemed to wash away the present, taking him back to a time when everything was different. Wilmington, North Carolina, 1979. 17-year-old Michael Jordan walked through the halls of Emsley A. Laney High School with his head down. His sneakers squeaked on the shiny floor. Other students laughed and talked around him, but Michael felt invisible. He was tall and skinny, all arms and legs that didn't seem to fit together right. His clothes were hand-me-downs from his older brother. His shoes were too big because his mom bought them, hoping he'd grow into them. The worst part was that he had just been cut from the varsity basketball team. Coach Herring said he wasn't good enough yet. The rejection hurt worse than anything Michael had ever felt. "Maybe basketball isn't for you, son," his father had said the night before. "Maybe you should focus on your studies." But Michael knew basketball was his life. He just didn't know how to prove it to anyone else. That Tuesday afternoon, Michael sat in the school library trying to do his math homework. Numbers swam in front of his eyes. He couldn't concentrate. Every problem looked impossible. "This is stupid," he muttered, pushing his books away. "What's stupid?" a voice asked. Michael looked up to see a girl sliding into the seat across from him. She had long, dark hair and the prettiest brown eyes he had ever seen. He recognized her from the hallways, but they had never talked before. "Math," Michael said. "I can't figure any of this out." The girl smiled. "I'm Sophia Martinez, and math isn't stupid. It's just like solving puzzles." "I'm Michael Jordan, and I hate puzzles." Sophia laughed. It was a sound like music. "My dad owns Martinez Family Restaurant downtown. He came to America from Mexico with nothing. He couldn't speak English, but he told me something important." "What's that?" "He said the biggest victories come after the hardest fights. When something seems impossible, that's when you're closest to breaking through." Michael looked at this girl who was being so kind to a stranger. "Why are you helping me?" "Because everyone deserves help sometimes, and because you look like you're about to give up." For the next hour, Sophia patiently explained each math problem. She didn't make Michael feel stupid when he didn't understand. She just found different ways to explain things until they made sense. "You're really smart," Michael said as they packed up their books. "So are you. You just needed someone to believe in you." Michael walked Sophia home that day. Her family's restaurant was in a small building with bright yellow walls. The smell of fresh tortillas and spices filled the air. "This is where I work after school," Sophia said. "My parents need the help." "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Michael asked. Sophia's eyes lit up. "A doctor. I want to help sick. Children get better. My little cousin died from cancer when I was 10. I promised myself I'd find a way to save kids like him." Michael felt something stir in his chest. Here was someone who had real dreams. Important dreams. His own dream of playing basketball seemed small compared to saving lives. "What about you?" Sophia asked. "What do you want to do?" "I want to play professional basketball," Michael said, quietly. "But I got cut from the varsity team yesterday. Maybe I'm not good enough." Sophia stopped walking and looked at him seriously. "Do you love basketball?" "More than anything." "Then don't give up. My dad always says that dreams don't have expiration dates. Sometimes they just take longer than we think." They reached Sophia's house, a small white home with a garden full of flowers. Her mother waved from the kitchen window. "I have to go help with dinner," Sophia said. "But Michael? Tomorrow, meet me in the library. Again. We'll work on more math. And maybe you can tell me about basketball." Michael walked home that day feeling different. For the first time in weeks, he didn't feel alone. Someone believed in him. Someone thought he was worth helping. The next day, Michael made the junior varsity team. It wasn't varsity, but it was a start. After practice, he ran to the library to find Sophia. "I made JV," he announced, slightly out of breath. Sophia's face broke into a huge smile. "I knew you would. See? Sometimes we just need to take the first step." They studied together every day after that. Michael helped Sophia with history and English. She helped him with math and science. But more than that, they talked about everything. Michael learned that Sophia's parents worked 16-hour days to keep their restaurant open. Some people in town weren't always kind to the Mexican family, but Sophia never complained. She just worked harder. Sophia learned that Michael's family didn't have much money either. His father worked at a factory. His mother cleaned houses. But they supported Michael's basketball dreams even when it seemed impossible. "We understand each other," Sophia said one day as they sat in the library. "Yeah," Michael agreed. "We both know what it's like to want something bigger than where we came from." 3 weeks after they met, Michael walked Sophia home from the library like always. But this time, instead of saying goodbye at her front door, they stopped under the old oak tree in her front yard. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Sophia looked beautiful in the soft light. "Michael," she said quietly, "I'm glad we're friends." "Me too," he whispered. But he wanted to be more than friends. Sophia must have read his mind because she stepped closer to him. "I've never had a boyfriend." "Before," she said. "I've never had a girlfriend," Michael replied. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then, very slowly, Michael leaned down and kissed her. It was soft and sweet and perfect. When they pulled apart, Sophia was smiling. "Was that your first kiss?" she asked. "Yeah." "Was it yours?" "Yeah." They both started laughing. It was the beginning of something beautiful. Something that would change both of their lives forever. Under that oak tree, holding hands as the stars came out, Michael and Sophia made their first promises to each other. "I'll always help you with math," Sophia said. "And I'll always believe in your dreams," Michael replied. Neither of them knew that someday those promises would be tested in ways they couldn't imagine. Neither of them knew that love, sometimes, isn't enough to keep two people together. But in that moment, under the oak tree, with their whole lives ahead of them, they believed that anything was possible. Back in his Chicago office, 25 years later, Michael wiped tears from his eyes. The memory was so clear, it felt like yesterday. He could still smell the flowers in Sophia's mother's garden. He could still feel the softness of that first kiss. Now, Sophia was asking him to keep a promise he had made long ago. A promise to always be there for her. Michael picked up his phone and dialed a number he knew by heart. "Hello?" his assistant answered. "Mrs. Chen, I need you to book me a flight to Los Angeles today." Michael hung up the phone and leaned back in his chair. The flight to Los Angeles wouldn't leave for 6 hours. That gave him time to remember more. Time to think about what Sophia had meant to him back then. Wilmington, North Carolina, fall. 1979. After their first kiss under the oak tree, Michael and Sophia became inseparable. Every morning, Michael waited for Sophia by her locker. Every afternoon, they studied together in the library. Every evening, he walked her home from work at her family's restaurant. Michael's basketball skills were getting better. He practiced every day, sometimes until it was too dark to see the hoop. But no matter how tired he was, He always made time for Sophia. "You're different now," his teammate James told him one day after practice. "You smile more. You don't get as angry when you miss shots." Michael knew James was right. Sophia made everything better. When he had a bad day at school, she listened. When he felt frustrated about basketball, she reminded him that good things take time. "My grandmother used to say that patience is like planting seeds," Sophia told him one day. "You can't see what's growing underground, but something beautiful is getting ready to bloom." Sophia came to every one of Michael's JV games. She sat in the front row and cheered louder than anyone else. When Michael scored, she jumped up and clapped. When he missed a shot, she yelled, "You'll get the next one." Other players' girlfriends talked about clothes and parties. Sophia talked about Michael's dreams. "You're going to play in college," she told him, after a game where he scored 28 points. "And then you're going to play professionally. I can feel it." "How can you be so sure?" Michael asked. "Because I see how hard you work. I see how much you want it. People who want something that badly usually find a way to get it." But their relationship wasn't always easy. Some of Michael's friends didn't understand why he spent so much time with Sophia. "She's too serious," his friend Tony said. "She always has her nose in a book. Don't you want to have fun?" "Sophia is fun," Michael replied. "She's just smart, too." Some of Sophia's friends had their own concerns. "He's obsessed with basketball," her friend Maria warned. "What happens when he gets famous? You think he'll still want to be with a girl from Wilmington?" Sophia always defended Michael. "He's not like that. He cares about more than just basketball." But the hardest criticism came from some people in their small town. In 1979, it was still unusual to see a black teenager and a Latina teenager holding hands. Some people stared when they walked down the street together. Some people whispered mean things. One day, an older man at the grocery store said something cruel to Sophia about dating that basketball boy. Sophia came home crying. "Maybe we shouldn't be together," she told Michael that night. "Maybe it's too hard." Michael took her hands in his. "Do you love me?" he asked. "Yes." "Do I love you?" "Yes." "Then nothing else matters. Let people talk. We know who we are." That's when Michael knew he really loved Sophia. Not just because she was pretty or smart, but because she made him brave. She made him want to be better than the small minds around them. Their love grew stronger through small, perfect moments. On Saturdays, Sophia taught Michael Spanish words while they walked through downtown. "Wilmington. Corazon," she said, putting his hand over her heart. "What does that mean?" "Heart. But in Spanish, it also means the most important thing in your life." Michael learned to say, "Te amo, mi corazón." I love you, my heart. On Sundays, Michael taught Sophia how to shoot basketballs behind the school. She wasn't very good, but she tried hard. "Keep your elbows straight," Michael said, standing behind her and guiding her arms. "Now, follow through with your wrist." Sophia's shot hit the rim and bounced away. "I'm terrible at this." "You're learning. That's different than being terrible." Their favorite time was late at night when they talked on the phone. Sophia's parents went to bed early because they had to wake up at 5 in the morning to prep food for the restaurant. Michael's parents fell asleep watching TV. That left Michael and Sophia free to whisper to each other across the phone lines. "What do you want our life to be like?" Sophia asked one night. Michael was quiet for a moment, thinking, I want to play basketball in college. Then I want to play professionally. Maybe in the NBA if I'm good enough. You will be good enough. What about you? What do you want? I want to go to medical school. I want to specialize in helping children with cancer. I want to save lives. We both have big dreams, Michael said. That's what I love about us. We're not afraid to want more than what we have. Then came the conversation that would haunt Michael for the rest of his life. When I make it to the NBA, Michael said one December night, I'll buy a big house. You can live next to me, you can have your medical practice, and I'll have my basketball career. We'll have it all. Sophia laughed softly. That sounds perfect. But promise me something, Michael. Anything. Promise me that no matter how famous you get, you'll remember the boy who needed help with algebra. Promise me you'll remember us. Michael's voice was serious when he answered. I promise, Sophia. I'll never forget who I was before. I'll never forget you. And I promise I'll never stop believing in you, Sophia said. Even if the whole world doubts you, I'll believe. They made plans for prom. Sophia was going to wear a blue dress that matched her grandmother's necklace. Michael was going to rent a tuxedo with money he earned from his part-time job at the hardware store. They made plans for after graduation. They would go to college, maybe not the same one, but they would visit each other. They would write letters every day. Love would conquer distance. They made plans for their future. Marriage after college. A house with a big yard. Children who would be smart, like Sophia, and athletic, like Michael. On Christmas Eve, 1979, they sat under their oak tree one more time before winter made it too cold. This has been the best year of my life, Sophia said, her breath making little clouds in the cold air. Mine too, Michael agreed, pulling her closer. Do you really think we can make it? Do you think our dreams can come true? Michael looked at this beautiful, brilliant girl who believed in him more than he believed in himself. With you beside me, I think anything is possible. But promises are easy to make when you're 17 and in love. Life, as they would both learn, has a way of testing every promise you've ever made. Back in his Chicago office, Michael looked at his watch. 4 hours until his flight to Los Angeles. 4 hours until he saw Sophia again. He wondered if she still remembered that December night under the oak tree. He wondered if she still believed that anything was possible. Most of all, he wondered if it was too late to keep the promises they had made to each other when they were young and brave and so sure that love could conquer everything. Michael picked up his phone and called his pilot. Change of plans, he said. I don't want to fly commercial. Get the jet ready. I need to get to Los Angeles as soon as possible. Some promises, he realized, were worth keeping no matter how much time had passed, even if keeping them broke your heart all over again. Michael's private jet lifted off from Chicago as the sun began to set. Through the small window, he watched the city lights fade below him. In 3 hours, he would see Sophia again. But first, he needed to remember how they had said goodbye all those years ago. Wilmington, North Carolina, spring 1980, senior year changed everything for Michael Jordan. It started when he grew 4 inches over the summer. Suddenly, he wasn't the skinny kid who got cut from varsity anymore. He was 6 feet 6 inches tall, and his basketball skills had exploded. Coach Herring moved Michael up to varsity. College scouts started coming to games. Michael's phone rang every night with calls from coaches at big universities. North Carolina wants to meet with you, his coach told him after practice one day. Duke is interested too. So is South Carolina. Michael felt like he was living in a dream. Just 2 years ago, he couldn't make his high school varsity team. Now colleges across the country wanted him to play for them. But with all the attention came pressure. Lots of pressure. You need to focus only on basketball now, Coach Herring told him. No distractions, no parties, no girlfriends taking up your time. Michael's teammates had their own advice. Dude, you're going to be famous, Tony said. College girls are going to be all over you. Why tie yourself down to one girl from high school? Even Michael's parents were worried about different things. Your grades are slipping, his mother said. One night at dinner, all this basketball excitement is making you forget about school. Basketball is school, Mom, Michael replied. This is my future. What about Sophia? His father asked. That girl has been good to you. Don't forget about the people who cared about you before you were a star. But Michael was finding it harder and harder to balance everything. Basketball practice ran later. He had extra workouts with trainers. College coaches wanted to take him to dinner. Reporters wanted to interview him. Sophia understood at first. She always understood. I'm so proud of you, she said after a game where Michael scored 35 points. You're going to get a full scholarship to a great school. We both are, Michael said. You got into Stanford, remember? Pre-med program. That's amazing. Sophia smiled, but something in her eyes looked sad. Stanford is in California, Michael. Really far from North Carolina. We'll figure it out, Michael said quickly. Love finds a way, right? But as the months went by, Michael found less and less time for Sophia. He missed their study dates because of extra practice. He was late to walk her home because coaches wanted to talk after games. He forgot to call her some nights because he was too tired. The breaking point came in March, right before prom. Michael had promised to take Sophia dress shopping on Saturday afternoon. She had been excited about it all week, but on Friday night, a recruiter from the University of North Carolina called. Michael, I know this is short notice, the coach said, but can you come to Chapel Hill tomorrow? We want to show you the campus. We want to make you an offer. Michael's heart pounded. UNC was his dream school. Dean Smith was the best coach in college basketball. I'll be there, Michael said without thinking. He didn't remember about Sophia until Sunday morning. She was waiting for him at the mall when he called her. Sophia, I'm so sorry. Something came up with UNC. I had to. You forgot about me, Sophia said quietly. You completely forgot. No, it wasn't like that. This was important. My future. What about my future, Michael? What about us? Michael felt frustrated. Why couldn't she understand how big this was? Sophia, this is my chance. This is everything I've worked for. And what am I? Nothing? You know that's not what I mean. But Sophia was crying now. Michael, I feel like I'm losing you. Even when you're with me, you're thinking about basketball. When we're talking, you're looking at your phone, waiting for coaches to call. That's not true. It is true. Last week, you called me coach by mistake. You were so distracted, you didn't even know who you were talking to. Michael remembered that moment. He had been embarrassed, but he had laughed it off. Now, he realized, It had hurt Sophia more than she had shown. "I'm sorry," he said, "but this is temporary. Once I pick a college, things will calm down." Will they? Or will it just be different pressure? College basketball pressure, then professional pressure, then endorsement pressure. Michael didn't have an answer for that. Things got worse in April when Michael officially signed with the University of North Carolina. The local newspaper wanted to interview him. TV reporters came to his school. Everyone in Wilmington wanted to talk to the kid who was going to play for Dean Smith. Sophia tried to be supportive, but Michael could see the distance growing between them. "I'm happy for you," she said after the signing ceremony. "I really am." "But?" Michael could hear the "but" in her voice. "But I miss you. I miss us. I miss the boy who needed help with algebra. Now you have tutors and handlers and people telling you what to do every minute of the day. I'm still me, Sophia. Are you? When's the last time we just talked? Really talked, like we used to?" Michael thought about it. He couldn't remember. The final fight happened in May, 2 weeks before graduation. Sophia had gotten a full scholarship to Stanford University in California. Her parents were so proud they cried. Her dream of becoming a doctor was coming true. But Stanford was 3,000 miles away from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. "We can make it work," Michael said when Sophia told him about Stanford. "We'll visit each other. We'll call every day." "Michael, be realistic. You're going to be busy with basketball. I'm going to be buried in pre-med classes. When will we see each other?" "We'll find time." "Will we? You can't find time for me now. And we live in the same town." That hurt because it was true. "What are you saying?" Michael asked. "I'm saying maybe we should face reality. We're going in different directions. Maybe it's time to admit that." "So, you want to break up?" Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to, but I think we have to. We both have dreams. Michael, big dreams. If we try to hold on to each other, we might end up holding each other back." "That's not true, isn't it? Haven't you felt torn between basketball and me? Haven't you wished sometimes that you didn't have to worry about my feelings when coaches called?" Michael wanted to deny it, but he couldn't. There had been moments when he felt exactly that way. "Come with me," he said suddenly. "Transfer to UNC. We can be together." "Michael, I can't. Stanford has the best pre-med program in the country. This is my one chance to become the doctor I want to be." "So you're choosing your career over us?" "No, Michael. I'm choosing my dream, just like you chose yours." They met under their oak tree one last time, the night before Michael left for college orientation. The same tree where they had shared their first kiss. The same tree where they had made all their promises. "Love you," Michael said, holding her hands. "I'll always love you." "I love you too," Sophia whispered. "That's why this is so hard. We don't have to do this. We can try long distance." Sophia shook her head. "We both know it won't work. You're going to become famous, Michael. You're going to travel the world and meet amazing people. You don't need a girlfriend back home holding you down. You never held me down. You lifted me up. And you lifted me up too. You taught me to dream big. Now we both have to follow those dreams, even if it means following them apart." They held each other under the oak tree as the stars came out, both of them crying, both of them knowing this was goodbye. "Promise me something," Sophia said. "Anything. Promise me you'll become everything you're meant to be. Promise me you'll be great." "Promise me you'll save lives," Michael replied. "Promise me you'll help those sick kids just like you always wanted." "I promise." They kissed one last time. It was soft and sweet and heartbreaking. Michael left for UNC the next morning without saying goodbye. He couldn't bear to see Sophia cry again. Sophia left for Stanford a week later. She didn't call Michael to tell him she was leaving. Both of them thought they were doing the right thing. Both of them thought that love meant letting go. Neither of them knew that some choices, even the right choices, leave scars that never fully heal. On the plane to Los Angeles, 25 years later, Michael touched his chest where his heart was. The scar was still there. It had never really gone away. Tomorrow, he would see Sophia again. He would meet her daughter. He would try to save a life. But first, he had to figure out if his heart was strong enough to handle seeing the woman he never stopped loving, even after all these years. Even after the choice that broke both their hearts. Michael's plane landed in Los Angeles at midnight. As he walked through the empty airport, he thought about all the years that had passed since he last saw Sophia. 25 years of separate lives. 25 years of success that came with a price. 2005, Michael Jordan's rise to fame happened fast. At the University of North Carolina, he hit the game-winning shot in the 1982 NCAA championship. The whole country watched a 19-year-old kid from Wilmington become a hero. Sports reporters called it one of the greatest shots in college basketball history. Michael tried to call Sophia that night to share the moment with her, but her roommate at Stanford said she was studying for finals. "She's in the library," the girl said. "She's been there for 12 hours straight." Michael hung up without leaving a message. Maybe it was better this way. 2 years later, Michael was drafted by the Chicago Bulls. He was the third pick in the NBA draft. His rookie year was magic. He averaged 28 points per game. Fans started calling him Air Jordan because he seemed to fly when he dunked the basketball. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, Sophia was becoming Dr. Martinez. Stanford's pre-med program was brutal. Sophia studied 18 hours a day. She lived on coffee and determination. Her professors said she was one of the brightest students they had ever taught. "You have a gift for understanding sick children," her pediatrics professor told her during her third year. "You should specialize in oncology. Kids with cancer need doctors who truly care." Sophia thought about her little cousin who had died when she was 10. She thought about the promise she had made to save children like him. "That's exactly what I want to do," she said. In 1984, Michael Jordan signed his first shoe deal with Nike. They called the shoes Air Jordans. The commercials showed Michael flying through the air, defying gravity. The slogan was, "Be like Mike." Kids all over the world wanted to be like Mike. Michael became more than a basketball player. He became a brand. That same year, Sophia graduated from Stanford with highest honors. She got accepted to Johns Hopkins Medical School, one of the best medical schools in America. Her parents cried with pride at her graduation. "Mija," her father said, "you made our dreams come true." "I'm just getting started, Papa," Sophia replied. In 1991, Michael Jordan won his first NBA championship with the Chicago Bulls. He cried on national television as he held the trophy. Millions of people watched him achieve his childhood dream. That same year, Dr. Sofia Martinez graduated from medical school and started her residency at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. She was 29 years old and ready to save lives. Her first patient was a 7-year-old boy named Tommy who had leukemia. He was scared and skinny and reminded Sofia of her cousin who had died. "Am I going to die?" Tommy asked her on his first day of treatment. Sofia knelt down so she was eye level with him. "I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you don't," she said. "That's a promise." Tommy survived. So did the next patient, and the next one after that. Michael's success continued to grow. He won 6 NBA championships. He became the most famous athlete in the world. His face was on billboards in every country. He made movies, starred in commercials, and started his own clothing line. But fame came with loneliness. Michael dated beautiful women, but none of them understood the pressure he was under. None of them had known him before he was famous. None of them loved the boy who needed help with algebra. Sofia's success was quieter, but just as impressive. She became one of the leading pediatric oncologists in the country. She developed new treatments for childhood cancers. She saved hundreds of lives. In 1995, Sofia met Dr. David Chen at a medical conference. He was a heart surgeon, kind and gentle and smart. He didn't know anything about her past with Michael Jordan. To him, she was just brilliant Dr. Martinez, who cared more about her patients than anything else. "Would you like to have dinner sometime?" David asked after they had talked for hours about new surgical techniques. Sofia hesitated. She hadn't dated seriously since college. She hadn't let anyone get close to her heart since Michael. "I'd like that," she said finally. David and Sofia dated for 2 years before getting married in a small ceremony in 1997. It was a good marriage, built on friendship and respect and shared values. David loved Sofia's dirty dedication to her work. Sofia loved David's gentle nature and his commitment to helping people. But late at night, when David was asleep, Sofia sometimes found herself watching Michael Jordan highlights on ESPN. She told herself she was just curious about how his career was going. She told herself it didn't mean anything. In 1998, Michael won his 6th and final championship. He retired from basketball as the greatest player who ever lived. The whole world celebrated his career. That same year, Sofia and David had their first and only child. They named her Carmen, after Sofia's grandmother, who had taught her that dreams were worth fighting for. When Carmen was born, Sofia held her tiny daughter and made a silent promise. "I will love you more than anything in this world," she whispered. "I will protect you and support your dreams, whatever they are." Carmen became the center of Sofia's universe. She was a beautiful baby who grew into a smart, curious little girl. She had Sofia's dark eyes and David's gentle smile. Michael retired from basketball but stayed busy. He bought a basketball team, he opened restaurants, he played golf with presidents and movie stars. But something was always missing. Success felt empty when you had no one special to share it with. Michael got married in 2006 to a woman named Juanita. It lasted 17 years, but it never felt quite right. They had 3 children together, but Michael always felt like he was playing a role instead of being himself. Sofia threw herself into her work and her family. Carmen grew up watching her mother save children's lives. She was proud of her mom, but she also saw how hard Sofia worked and how tired she sometimes looked. "Why do you work so much, Mama?" 5-year-old Carmen asked one day. "Because sick children need help," Sophia explained, "and helping them makes me happy." "Were you always a doctor?" "No, mija. When I was your age, I dreamed of becoming a doctor. Dreams take time to come." "True. What other dreams did you have?" Sophia paused. She had never told Carmen about Michael, about the love she had lost, about the boy who had believed in her dreams. "I dreamed of having a beautiful daughter," Sophia said, kissing Carmen's forehead. "And that dream came true." The years passed quickly. Michael and Sophia lived their separate lives, both successful, both respected, both missing something they couldn't name. Carmen grew into a teenager who loved to write stories. She was smart, like her mother, and kind like her stepfather, David. She asked thoughtful questions and dreamed of becoming a journalist who would tell important stories. "I want to write about people who make a difference," Carmen told her parents when she was 15. "Like you, Mom. You save lives. That's the kind of story the world needs to hear." Sophia smiled, but something in her chest felt tight. Carmen was so much like Michael had been at that age, full of big dreams and determination to change the world. In 2005, Carmen turned 16. She was healthy, happy, and full of life. She had never been seriously sick, never even broken a bone. That's why it was such a shock when she started feeling tired all the time. "I'm probably just working too hard on my school newspaper," Carmen told her parents when they asked why she was sleeping so much. But Sophia was a doctor. She knew the signs. When Carmen started bruising easily and losing weight, Sophia's heart filled with fear. The blood tests confirmed Sophia's worst nightmare. Carmen had acute lymphoblastic leukemia, a rare, aggressive form that didn't respond well to standard treatments. "How long?" Sophia asked the oncologist who delivered the news. "With standard treatment, maybe 6 months. There's an experimental treatment being developed in Chicago, but it's not approved yet. And it's expensive." "How expensive?" $2 million. That night, Sophia sat by Carmen's bedside and watched her daughter sleep. Carmen looked so peaceful, so young, so full of potential. Sophia thought about all the children she had saved over the years. Now her own daughter needed saving, and she didn't know how to do it. She thought about Michael Jordan, probably somewhere in Chicago, living his successful life. She wondered if he ever thought about her. She wondered if he would remember the promises they had made under an oak tree in North Carolina. Most of all, she wondered if she had the courage to call him after 25 years and ask for help. Outside Carmen's hospital room, Sophia made the hardest decision of her life. She was going to call the boy who had once promised to always be there for her, even if it meant opening old wounds that had never fully healed, even if it meant admitting that some love never really dies, no matter how much time passes or how far apart two people grow. Carmen needed to live, and Michael Jordan was the only person Sophia knew who could make that happen. Michael's taxi pulled up to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The morning sun was bright, but he felt cold inside. Somewhere in this building, Sophia was waiting for him. Somewhere in this building, a 16-year-old girl was fighting for her life. Los Angeles, 3 weeks earlier. Dr. Sophia Martinez sat across from Dr. Williams, Carmen's oncologist. The office was filled with medical books and pictures of children who had beaten cancer. But today, those pictures felt like cruel jokes. "I'm sorry, Sophia. Dr. Williams said gently. The latest tests show that Carmen's leukemia isn't responding to the standard treatments. The cancer is too aggressive. Sophia's hands shook as she held the test results. The numbers on the page might as well have been a death sentence for her daughter. "What are our options?" Sophia asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. "There's an experimental treatment being developed at Northwestern University in Chicago. It's called CAR T-cell therapy. They reprogram the patient's own immune cells to fight the cancer. Has it worked?" In early trials, yes. 70% of patients showed complete remission. But Sophia, you need to understand, it's not approved by the FDA yet. Insurance won't cover it. How much does it cost? Dr. Williams looked uncomfortable. $2 million, plus travel expenses, hospital stays, follow-up care. You're looking at close to $3 million total. Sophia felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. She and David were both successful doctors, but they didn't have that kind of money. Their house was worth maybe $800,000. Their savings account had $150,000. It wasn't even close to enough. "How long do we have to decide?" Sophia asked. "Carmen's condition is deteriorating quickly. If we're going to do this, we need to start within the next month." Sophia drove home in a daze. How do you tell your husband that your daughter is dying? How do you tell your daughter that there's a treatment that could save her life, but you can't afford it? David was in the kitchen making dinner when Sophia walked in. He took one look at her face and knew the news was bad. "Sit down," Sophia said. She told him everything. The failed treatments, the experimental therapy in Chicago, the impossible cost. David was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We'll find a way. We'll sell the house, we'll borrow money, we'll do whatever it takes." But they both knew it wouldn't be enough. Carmen came home from school an hour later. She looked thin and tired, but she was trying to act normal. She had been doing that a lot lately, pretending she felt fine so her parents wouldn't worry. "How was school?" Sophia asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Good. I finished my article about the new library renovation. Mr. Peterson says it might win the State Journalism Award." Sophia's heart broke. Her brilliant daughter was still planning for the future, still dreaming about winning awards and going to college. Carmen didn't know that her future might only be a few months long. That night, after Carmen went to bed, Sophia and David sat at their kitchen table with calculators and bank statements spread out in front of them. "The house is worth $800,000, David said. "But we still owe $300,000 on the mortgage, so that's $500,000. "My 401k has $200,000, Sophia added. "Yours has $180,000. "My parents could probably loan us $50,000, David said. "Your parents could maybe do $30,000. They added up every penny they could think of. Savings accounts, retirement funds, life insurance policies, jewelry, cars, everything. $1.2 million, Sophia said. "We're still $800,000 short." David put his head in his hands. "There has to be something else. Some program, some charity, some way to get help." Sophia spent the next week making phone calls. She called every cancer foundation she could find. She applied for grants and emergency funding. She reached out to medical colleagues who might know other options. Nothing. Every door was closed. Every program had waiting lists or didn't cover experimental treatments. Meanwhile, Carmen was getting sicker. She had to quit the school newspaper because She was too tired to stay after school. She stopped eating dinner because food made her nauseous. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. "Mom," Carmen said one morning as Sophia helped her get dressed for school, "am I going to die?" Sophia's breath caught in her throat. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you and Dad whisper a lot now. Because you've been crying when you think I'm not looking. Because I know you've been making a lot of phone calls about money." Sophia sat down on Carmen's bed and took her daughter's hands. "There's a treatment that could help you, but it's expensive, and we're trying to figure out how to pay for it." "How expensive?" Sophia hesitated. Carmen was only 16, but she was smart. She deserved the truth. $2 million. Carmen's eyes got wide. "Mom, that's crazy money. We don't have that kind of money." "We're working on it." Carmen was quiet for a minute. Then she said something that changed everything. "What about your old boyfriend? The famous one?" Sophia felt like the world stopped spinning. "What?" "I've seen the pictures in your old photo albums, the newspaper clippings from high school. You dated Michael Jordan, didn't you?" Sophia had never hidden the photos, but she had never talked about them either. She didn't think Carmen had paid attention to the old pictures of her with a tall, skinny boy in a basketball uniform. "That was a long time ago, mija." "But he's rich now, right? Like, really rich." "Carmen, I can't ask him for money. It's been 25 years since we talked. But Mom, if it could save my life, wouldn't it be worth trying?" That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Carmen's question. Would it be worth trying? She thought about Michael Jordan, probably living in some mansion in Chicago or North Carolina. He had everything money could buy. $2 million was probably nothing to him. But how do you call someone after 25 years and ask for that kind of help? How do you explain that your daughter is dying and you need him to save her? Sophia got out of bed and went to her home office. She pulled out an old photo album and found a picture of her and Michael at their senior prom. They looked so young, so happy, so sure that love would conquer everything. On the back of the photo, in Michael's handwriting, were the words, "Forever and always, your Michael." Forever and always. Such a long time ago. Sophia turned on her computer and Googled Michael Jordan contact information. There were dozens of websites, but most of them just had addresses for fan mail or business inquiries. Then she remembered something. Years ago, she had heard that Michael's mother still lived in North Carolina. Maybe she could get a message to him through his family. It took 3 days of phone calls, but Sophia finally got through to someone who had Michael's personal number. "Are you sure you want to do this?" David asked the night before Sophia planned to call. "I don't have a choice," Sophia said. "Carmen is my daughter. I have to try everything." "What if he says no?" "Then we'll figure out something else. But I have to try." That Tuesday morning, Sophia drove to the hospital where she worked. She sat in her office, staring at the phone number written on a piece of paper. She thought about the boy who had promised to always be there for her. She thought about the man he had become. She thought about her daughter, getting sicker every day. Finally, she picked up the phone and dialed. It rang 3 times before a woman answered. Mr. Jordan's office. "Hi, this is Dr. Sophia Martinez. I need to speak with Mr. Jordan about a personal matter. We knew each other in high school." "I'm sorry, but Mr. Jordan is very busy today. Can I take a message?" "Please, it's about my daughter. She's dying. I need his help." There was a pause. "Hold on, please." A few minutes later, The woman came back on the line. "Dr. Martinez, Mr. Jordan will take your call." Sophia's heart was pounding as she waited. Then she heard his voice. "Hello, Sophia." Just hearing him say her name brought back 25 years of memories. The boy in the library, the first kiss under the oak tree, the promises they made and broke. "Hello, Michael," she managed to say. "It's been a long time." 25 years, she replied, just like she had in the story outline. And then she told him about Carmen, about the cancer, about the treatment, about the money she didn't have. "I know I have no right to ask this," she said, tears streaming down her face, "but you're the only person I know who can help her." Michael was quiet for a long time. Sophia wondered if he was going to hang up. Finally, he said, "I'll help her." "Michael, I can't thank you enough. But I have one condition." Sophia's heart stopped. "What condition?" "I want to meet her. I want to be part of this fight." Now it was Sophia's turn to be quiet. She had expected him to write a check and disappear. She hadn't expected him to want to be involved in their lives. "Michael, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm married. This is complicated." "Sophia, if I'm going to save your daughter's life, I want to know who I'm fighting for. I want to understand what this means." Sophia realized she didn't have a choice. To save Carmen, she would have to let Michael Jordan back into her life. She would have to open doors that had been closed for 25 years. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm flying to Los Angeles tonight. I'll see you tomorrow." After they hung up, Sophia sat in her office and cried. She had made a deal that could save her daughter's life. But she had also made a deal that could destroy everything else. In 12 hours, she would see Michael Jordan again. The boy she had never stopped loving. The man who was about to become her family's savior. And she had no idea what that was going to cost her heart. Michael stood outside the quiet restaurant in Beverly Hills, checking his watch for the third time. He was 15 minutes early, but he couldn't help himself. After 25 years, he was about to see Sophia again. His hands were sweating like he was a teenager going on his first date. This was ridiculous. He was Michael Jordan. He had played basketball in front of millions of people. He had met presidents and movie stars. But the thought of seeing Sophia Martinez made him more nervous than he had ever been. The restaurant was small and private, the kind of place where famous people could have conversations without being bothered. Michael had chosen it carefully. He didn't want reporters or fans interrupting what was already going to be the most difficult conversation of his life. At exactly noon, Sophia walked through the door. Michael's breath caught in his throat. 25 years disappeared in an instant. She was older, yes. There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there in high school. Her hair was shorter and had some gray in it. But she was still beautiful. She was still the girl who had believed in him when no one else did. Sophia spotted him immediately. For a moment, they just stared at each other across the restaurant. Then she walked over to his table, her steps careful and nervous. "Hello, Michael," she said softly. "Hello, Sophia." He stood up and pulled out her chair. "You look good." "So do you." She sat down and folded her hands in her lap. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for seeing me." They sat in awkward silence for a moment. The waiter came over and they both ordered coffee, neither of them really wanting it. "This is strange," Sophia said finally. "Yeah, it is." Michael studied her face, looking for the 17-year-old girl he had fallen in love with. She was still there, hiding behind the successful doctor's professional mask. "How long has it been since we actually talked?" Sophia asked. 25 years, 2 months, and 16 days, Michael said, without thinking. Sophia looked surprised. "You remember the exact date?" Michael felt his cheeks get warm. "May 15th, 1980. The night before I left for UNC orientation. Under the oak tree. You remember?" "I remember everything, Sophia. Every conversation. Every kiss. Every promise we made." Sophia's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. "Michael, we need to talk about Carmen." "In a minute. First, I want to know about you. Are you happy?" The question hung in the air between them. Sophia was quiet for a long time. "I have a good life," she said finally. "I'm a successful doctor. I have a wonderful husband. I have Carmen." "That wasn't what I asked." Sophia met his eyes. "I'm content. That's enough." "Is it?" Before Sophia could answer, she pulled out her phone and showed Michael a picture. "This is Carmen." Michael's heart stopped. The girl in the photo had Sophia's dark eyes and smile. She looked intelligent and kind, with that same spark of determination that Sophia had always had. "She's beautiful," Michael said. "She looks just like you." "She acts like you," Sophia said with a small smile. "She's stubborn and competitive, and she dreams bigger than most people think is possible. Tell me about her." Sophia's face lit up as she talked about her daughter. "She's 16. She wants to be a journalist. She writes for her school newspaper, and she's already won 2 state awards for her articles. She cares about people, about telling stories that matter." "What kind of stories?" "Last month, she wrote about homeless veterans. The month before that, she interviewed kids in foster care. She wants to use her writing to help people who don't have a voice." Michael smiled. "She sounds like her mother. She's braver than I ever was." "What do you mean?" Sophia's expression grew sad. "She's fighting this cancer with such courage. She never complains. She never asks, 'Why me?' She just keeps planning for the future, like she knows she's going to beat it. Maybe she will." "Michael, I need to tell you about the treatment." Sophia pulled out a folder of medical papers. "It's called CAR T-cell therapy. They take Carmen's blood, reprogram her immune cells to recognize the cancer, then put them back in her body. Her own cells become weapons against the disease." Michael listened as Sophia explained the science behind the treatment. He didn't understand all the medical terms, but he understood hope when he heard it. "What are her chances?" he asked. "With this treatment, 70% complete remission. Without it..." Sophia's voice broke. 6 months. Maybe less." Michael reached across the table and took Sophia's hand without thinking. Her skin was still soft, still warm. The touch sent electricity through his whole body. "I told you I'd help," he said. "I meant it. Michael, it's $2 million, plus travel expenses and hospital costs. It could be $3 million total." "Money isn't the problem, Sophia. I can write that check right now." Sophia stared at him. "Just like that?" "Just like that." "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this for us?" Michael looked at their joined hands. Such a simple thing, but it felt like coming home after being lost for 25 years. Because when you called me yesterday, I realized something. I've spent my whole life winning. Championships, making money, being famous. But I've never done anything that really mattered. Saving your daughter's life. That matters. Michael, that's not the whole truth, is it? He looked up and met her eyes. No, it's not. What's the real reason? Michael was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said the words that had been locked in his heart for 25 years. Because I never stopped loving you. And because when I saw Carmen's picture, it was like looking at the daughter we never had, the life we never got to live. Sophia pulled her hand away from his. Michael, don't. Don't what? Don't tell the truth? Don't admit that letting you go was the biggest mistake of my life? You didn't let me go. We both made the choice to leave. Did we? Or were we just scared kids who didn't know how to fight for what mattered most? Sophia wiped tears from her eyes. It doesn't matter now. I'm married. I have a family. You can't just walk back into my life after 25 years and say things like that. I'm not trying to walk back into your life, Sophia. I'm trying to save your daughter's life. Everything else, we'll figure out as we go. There is no everything else, Michael. I called you because Carmen needs help. That's all. Is it? Then why are your hands shaking? Why are you crying? Sophia looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Because this is hard, she whispered. Because seeing you again brings back everything I've spent 25 years trying to forget. Maybe some things aren't meant to be forgotten. Michael, please. I need your help with Carmen, but I can't handle anything else right now. My daughter is dying. That's all I can think about. Michael nodded. You're right. Carmen comes first. Everything else can wait. Thank you. But Sophia, I meant what I said. I want to meet her. I want to be part of this fight. I'm not just going to write a check and disappear. Why not? It would be easier. Easier for who? For you? For your husband? I don't care about easier. A 16-year-old girl is fighting for her life. If I'm going to help her, I want to know her. I want to understand who I'm fighting for. Sophia was quiet for a long time. My husband, David, is a good man. This is going to be hard on him. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, Sophia. I just want to help. I know. But your being involved, it's going to complicate things. Life is complicated. Doesn't mean we stop trying to do the right thing. Sophia looked at him with an expression he remembered from high school. The look she got when she was trying to solve a difficult problem. Okay, she said finally. You can meet Carmen. But Michael, I need you to understand something. Chico doesn't know about us, about our history. I've never told her we were more than just high school friends. Why not? Because it was easier that way. Because some stories are too complicated to explain to a child. She's not a child anymore, Sophia. She's 16. She's smart. She can handle the truth. Can she? Can any of us? Michael reached for Sophia's hand again. But this time, she pulled away before he could touch her. We'll figure it out, he said, one step at a time. First, we save Carmen's life. Then we deal with everything else. Promise me something, Sophia said. Anything. Promise me you won't make this harder than it already is. Promise me you'll remember that I'm married. That I have a life that doesn't include you. Michael wanted to promise that. He wanted to make this easy for her, but he couldn't lie. Not to Sophia. "I promise I'll try," he said. "But Sophia, I can't promise that being around you won't bring back everything I've been trying to forget for 25 years. That's what I'm afraid of," she whispered. "When can I meet Carmen?" "She's in the hospital right now. We could go this afternoon if you want." "I want." They paid for their untouched coffee and walked out of the restaurant together. Michael's car and driver were waiting outside. "Sophia," Michael said, before they got in the car, "I know this is complicated. I know I'm probably the last person you wanted to call for help, but I'm glad you did." "Why?" "Because for the first time in 25 years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." As they drove toward the hospital, Sophia stared out the window and wondered what she had just set in motion. She had called Michael to save her daughter's life, but she was beginning to realize that saving Carmen might mean risking everything else she had built. Some choices, she thought, change everything, and there was no going back now. The elevator at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center felt like it was moving in slow motion. Michael stood next to Sophia, both of them staring at the numbers lighting up as they rose to the 7th floor. Neither of them spoke, but Michael could feel the tension radiating from Sophia's body. "She doesn't know you're coming," Sophia said quietly as they reached Carmen's floor. "What did you tell her?" "That someone was going to help pay for her treatment. She thinks it's a charity or a medical foundation." Michael nodded. He was more nervous now than he had been about meeting Sophia. This was different. This was about a sick 16-year-old girl who didn't know that her mother's high school boyfriend was about to change her life. They walked down the long hallway past other hospital rooms. Michael could hear the sounds of machines beeping, nurses talking softly, families whispering together. It reminded him of all the times he had visited children's hospitals during his basketball career. But this time was personal. Sophia stopped, outside room 714. "Michael, before we go in, I need you to know something. Carmen is sick, but she's still full of fight. She's going to ask you a million questions. She's curious about everything. I can handle questions." "Can you? What if she asks why you're really helping us? What if she asks about our past?" Michael looked at Sophia seriously. "I'll tell her the truth, that her mother was once very important to me, and that helping Carmen is the right thing to do. And if she asks if we were in love, I'll tell her that too, if she asks." Sophia took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this." She knocked softly on the door and pushed it open. "Carmen, there's someone I want you to meet." Michael followed Sophia into the hospital room and stopped in his tracks. Carmen Martinez was sitting up in bed, typing on a laptop computer. She had a scarf wrapped around her head where her hair used to be. She was thin from the treatments, and there were dark circles under her eyes. But when she looked up and saw who was standing in her doorway, her face lit up with pure joy. "Oh my God!" Carmen practically shouted. "Mom, you didn't tell me your old boyfriend was the Michael Jordan." Michael couldn't help but laugh. Despite everything she was going through, Carmen had the same bright energy that Sophia had possessed at that age. "Hi, Carmen," Michael said, walking over to her bed. "I'm Michael." "I know who you are. You're only the greatest basketball player who ever lived." Carmen grinned at her mother. "Mom, I can't believe you never told me you dated Michael Jordan." Sophia's cheeks turned red. "Carmen, that was a long time ago." We were just kids." "Just kids? Mom, do you know how cool this makes you?" Carmen turned back to Michael. "She never talks about high school. I always wondered why she had all those old newspaper clippings about basketball games." Michael glanced at Sophia with surprise. "You kept newspaper clippings?" "I kept everything," Carmen answered before her mother could speak. "I found a whole box of stuff in the attic. Pictures, letters, ticket stubs from games. Mom was totally in love with you." "Carmen!" Sophia protested. "What? It's obvious from the pictures. You two were like the perfect high school couple." Carmen studied Michael's face. "So, why did you break up?" Michael sat down in the chair next to Carmen's bed. "Your mom and I had different dreams. She wanted to become a doctor and save lives. I wanted to play professional basketball. Sometimes, people have to choose their dreams over being together." "That's stupid," Carmen said matter-of-factly. "Carmen," Sophia said again. "Well, it is. If you really loved each other, you should have figured out a way to make it work." Michael smiled. This girl was definitely Sophia's daughter. Smart, direct, and not afraid to speak her mind. "You're probably right," Michael said, "but we were young and scared. Sometimes, young people make choices they later regret." Carmen studied him carefully. "Is that why you're here now? Because you regret it?" The question caught Michael off guard. This 16-year-old girl saw right through him. "I'm here because your mom called and told me you need help, and because helping you is the most important thing I can do with my life right now." "But that's not all, is it?" Carmen pressed. "I can see the way you look at my mom. I can see the way she looks at you when she thinks no one is watching." Sophia moved closer to Carmen's bed. "Sweetheart, Mr. Jordan is here to talk about your treatment. He's offered to help pay for the experimental therapy in Chicago." Carmen's eyes got wide. "Seriously? You're going to pay for it?" "If you want me to," Michael said. "But first, I want to know about you. Your mom tells me you want to be a journalist. I want to be a writer who tells stories that matter. Like my mom saves people's bodies, I want to save people's spirits by telling their stories." "What kind of stories?" Carmen's enthusiasm was infectious as she talked about her articles for the school newspaper. She told Michael about interviewing homeless veterans, writing about kids in foster care, and exposing problems with school lunch programs. "I don't want to write about celebrities or sports scores," Carmen explained. "I want to write about real people facing real problems. I want to make people care about each other." Michael found himself genuinely impressed. That's a big responsibility. "My mom taught me that if you have a gift, you should use it to help other people. Writing is my gift." "What's the most important story you've ever written?" Carmen thought about it. "Last year, I wrote about this kid at school named Tommy. He has autism, and some bullies were making fun of him every day. I followed the story for 2 months. I interviewed Tommy, his parents, the bullies, teachers, other students." "What happened?" "The article got the bullies suspended, but more importantly, it started a conversation. Now, our school has an anti-bullying program, and Tommy has friends. He's not eating lunch alone anymore." Michael felt something stir in his chest. This girl understood something that had taken him years to learn, that real success meant helping other people. "That's amazing, Carmen. You changed someone's life with your writing." "That's what I want to do with my whole career. Change lives." Carmen paused. "But first, I have to beat this stupid cancer." The way she said it, matter of fact, with no self-pity, reminded Michael so much of Sophia that it took his breath away. "Tell me about the cancer," Michael said gently. Carmen shrugged. "It sucks, but whatever. It's called acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Sounds scary, but it's just cells that forgot how to behave properly. The doctors here tried to teach them with chemotherapy, but my cells are apparently really bad students." Michael laughed despite the serious subject. "So now you need different teachers?" "Exactly. The treatment in Chicago is like sending my immune system to a special school where they learn to be cancer-fighting ninjas." "And you're not scared?" Carmen looked serious for the first time since Michael had walked into the room. "Of course I'm scared. I'm 16. I haven't even been to prom yet. I haven't been to college, or traveled to Europe, or fallen in love, or written the stories I want to write." She paused, then continued, "But being scared doesn't help anyone. My mom is scared enough for both of us. My dad, David, is trying to be strong, but I can see how worried he is. If I fall apart, too, who's going to keep everyone's hope alive?" Michael stared at this incredible girl who was facing death with more courage than most adults. He knew. "You're remarkable, Carmen. Do you know that?" "I'm my mother's daughter," Carmen said simply. "She taught me that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when you are afraid." Michael looked at Sophia, who was wiping tears from her eyes. "She's right," Sophia said softly. "Carmen has been braver through all this than David and I combined. It's easier to be brave when you have people who love you," Carmen said. "Mom, I know you, and David would do anything to save me. That makes me feel safe, even when I'm scared." Michael felt something break open in his heart. In less than an hour, this 16-year-old girl had taught him more about what mattered in life than all his years of fame and success. "Carmen," he said, "I want to do more than just pay for your treatment. I want to be part of this fight. I want to come to Chicago with you and your family. I want to be there while you beat this thing." Carmen looked surprised. "Really? Why?" Michael thought about how to answer that question honestly, without complicating things for Sophia. "Because meeting you has reminded me what real heroism looks like. And because everyone needs as many people as possible, cheering them on when they're fighting the biggest battle of their life." Carmen smiled the biggest smile Michael had seen since entering the room. "That would be awesome! Mom, can he come with us to Chicago?" Sophia looked trapped. Michael could see the conflict in her eyes. She needed his help. But having him along for Carmen's treatment would mean weeks of being together, of pretending that the past didn't matter. "We'll figure out the details," Sophia said carefully. "This is going to be so cool," Carmen said. "I'm going to beat cancer with Michael Jordan on my team. Wait until I tell my friends at school." "Carmen," Sophia said gently, "we should probably keep this quiet for now. Mr. Jordan is a private person." "Oh, right. I get it. No social media posts about my famous treatment sponsor." Michael stood up to leave. "Carmen, I'm going to set up everything for your treatment in Chicago. The best doctors, the best hospital room, whatever you need." "Thank you," Carmen said seriously, "for everything. For caring about someone you just met. For helping my mom when she needed it most." "Thank you for reminding me what courage looks like," Michael replied. As he and Sophia walked toward the door, Carmen called out, "Hey, Michael?" He turned back. "I'm glad my mom called you." Not just because of the money, but because I can tell she's happier now than she's been in a long time. She smiles different when she looks at you. Michael felt Sophia stiffen next to him. I can see why she fell in love with you in high school, Carmen continued innocently. You're one of the good guys. In the hallway outside Carmen's room, Michael and Sophia walked in silence toward the elevator. She's incredible, Michael said finally. She's everything to me, Sophia replied. I can see why. Sophia, I meant what I said in there. I want to be part of this. All of it. Michael, having you in Chicago with us, it's going to be complicated. I know, but that girl in there is about to fight for her life. She deserves to have everyone who cares about her standing beside her. And you care about her? Michael stopped walking and looked at Sophia. I care about her because she's your daughter. But after spending an hour with Carmen, I care about her for herself, too. She's special, Sophia. She's going to change the world if we can save her life. Sophia pressed the elevator button and stared at the doors. This is all happening so fast. Sometimes life moves fast. The question is, are we going to keep up, or are we going to get left behind? As they waited for the elevator, Michael realized that meeting Carmen had changed something fundamental inside him. For the first time in his adult life, he had a purpose that went beyond his own success. He was going to help save this remarkable girl's life. And maybe, in the process, he would figure out how to save his own heart. 2 weeks later, Michael Jordan stood in the lobby of Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago, watching snow fall outside the tall windows. His private jet had just brought the Martinez family from Los Angeles. Carmen's treatment was scheduled to begin the Sikit died next morning. He had spent those 2 weeks making phone calls, pulling strings, and using his fame to get Carmen the best possible care. Money had opened every door. The top doctors in the country were now part of Carmen's medical team. The hospital had given them a private wing. Everything was perfect, except for one thing. Sophia had barely spoken to him since that day at the Yehoider Hospital in Los Angeles. Mr. Jordan? A voice interrupted his thoughts. Michael turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead oncologist for Carmen's case. She was a small woman with kind eyes and an impressive reputation for treating childhood cancers. The Martinez family just arrived, Dr. Chen said. They're getting settled in Carmen's room. Would you like to see them? In a few minutes, Michael said. First, tell me honestly, what are Carmen's chances? Dr. Chen was quiet for a moment. With this treatment, 70% of patients achieve complete remission. But Michael, you need to understand that Carmen's case is complicated. Her cancer is aggressive. She's already been through several rounds of chemotherapy that didn't work. What does that mean for her odds? Maybe 60%. Still good odds, but not guaranteed. Michael felt his chest tighten. And without this treatment? 6 months, maybe less. Then we fight with everything we have. Dr. Chen smiled. That's exactly what Carmen said when I met her an hour ago. She told me she has the best medical team in the world and Michael Jordan on her side. She seems to think that makes her unbeatable. Michael couldn't help but smile too. She's a special girl. Yes, she is. But Mr. Jordan, I have to ask, are you prepared for what the next few weeks are going to be like? This treatment is brutal. Carmen is going to be very sick before she gets better. Some days, she's going to want to give up. I'm not going anywhere. What about her family? This is putting a lot of stress on her parents' marriage. Having you here is complicated. Michael had noticed the tension too. David Chen had been polite, but distant when they met at the airport. Sophia had focused entirely on Carmen, avoiding eye contact with Michael whenever possible. "I'm here for Carmen," Michael said. "Whatever else happens, she comes first." Dr. Chen nodded. "Room 810. They're waiting for you." Michael took the elevator to the 8th floor, his stomach full of butterflies. He had played in championship games in front of 50,000 screaming fans, but walking down this hospital hallway felt more nerve-wracking than any basketball game he had ever played. He knocked on the door to room 810 and heard Carmen's voice call out, "Come in!" Michael pushed open the door and found Carmen sitting up in her hospital bed, looking around the room with amazement. "Michael, this place is incredible!" Carmen pointed to the huge window overlooking downtown Chicago. "Look at that view! And they have cable TV with like 1,000,000 channels. Plus, there's a mini fridge and a couch that turns into a bed for my parents." Sophia was unpacking clothes in the closet. David was setting up his laptop at a small desk by the window. Both of them looked tired from the travel and the stress. "How was the flight?" Michael asked. "Amazing," Carmen answered before her parents could speak. "I've never been on a private jet before. The seats are like recliners, and they have real food instead of airplane peanuts." "I'm glad you enjoyed it," Michael said. He looked at Sophia and David. "How are you both doing?" "Tired," David said simply, "but grateful to be here." Sophia finally looked at Michael. "Thank you for arranging everything. The jet, the hospital room, the medical team. Carmen feels like a princess. She deserves to feel special." Dr. Chen walked into the room carrying a tablet computer. "Good, everyone's here. I want to go over the treatment schedule with all of you." She explained that Carmen's treatment would happen in 3 phases. First, they would collect Carmen's blood and separate out her T cells. Then, those cells would be genetically modified in a laboratory to recognize and attack Carmen's specific type of cancer. Finally, the modified cells would be put back into Carmen's body, where they would hopefully destroy the remaining cancer cells. The whole process takes about 3 weeks, Dr. Chen explained. The first week is relatively easy, just blood collection and lab work. The second week is when we put the modified cells back in Carmen's body. That's when she'll feel very sick. "How sick?" Sophia asked. "High fever, nausea, fatigue, possible seizures. Her body will be fighting a war between the modified cells and the cancer. It's going to be rough." Carmen listened to all of this without showing any fear. "But after that, I'll be better?" "If the treatment works, yes. Your cancer should be gone within 6 months. And if it doesn't work?" Dr. Chen glanced at the adults in the room. "Let's focus on making sure it does work." That evening, Michael sat in the hospital cafeteria with David, while Sophia helped Carmen get ready for bed. It was the first time the 2 men had been alone, together, and the conversation was awkward. "I want to thank you," David said finally, "for everything you're doing for Carmen. This treatment. We never could have afforded it." "You don't need to thank me. Carmen is an amazing kid. Anyone would want to help her. But not everyone could help her the way you can." David stirred his coffee slowly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Are you here just for Carmen? Or are you here for Sophia, too? Michael had been expecting this question. I'm here for Carmen. Everything else is complicated. Yes, it is. David looked tired. I love my wife, Mr. Jordan. I love Carmen like she's my own daughter. This whole situation is the hardest thing our family has ever been through. I imagine it is. Sophia and I have been married for 8 years. Good years. But I can see the way she looks at you. I can see the way you look at her. Michael didn't know how to respond to that. I'm not stupid, David continued. I know that Sophia had a life before she met me. I know she loved someone before she loved me. I just never thought that someone would show up and want to be part of our lives. David, I'm not trying to cause problems for your family. I know you're not. That's what makes this so hard. You're a good man doing a good thing. Carmen adores you. Sophia, well, Sophia is struggling with feelings she thought she had buried a long time ago. What do you want me to do? David was quiet for a long time. I want you to save my daughter's life. And then, I want you to decide what kind of man you want to be. The kind who walks away and lets our family heal. Or the kind who stays and tears apart a marriage. It's not that simple. Isn't it? David stood up from the table. I'm going to check on Carmen. She likes you to read to her before bed. Something about your voice, reminding her of her favorite audiobook narrator. After David left, Michael sat alone in the cafeteria, thinking about their conversation. David was right. This was complicated. But it was also bigger than just the adults involved. Carmen needed this treatment to work. She needed everyone who cared about her to be strong and focused. Personal drama between the adults could only hurt her chances. Michael made a decision. For the next 3 weeks, he would be completely focused on helping Carmen get better. His feelings for Sophia, Sophia's feelings for him, David's concerns about his marriage, all of that would have to wait. Carmen's life was more important than anyone's broken heart. When Michael went back to Carmen's room, he found her propped up in bed with a book in her hands. "What are you reading?" he asked. "It's a book about journalism, about reporters who risked their lives to tell important stories." Carmen held up the book so he could see the cover. This woman went to war zones to report on what was happening to children caught in the fighting. Sounds dangerous. The best stories usually are dangerous to tell. That's what makes them important. Michael sat down in the chair next to her bed. "Are you scared about tomorrow?" "A little. But mostly, I'm excited. Tomorrow, we start fighting back against this stupid cancer. You're braver than most adults I know." Carmen looked at him seriously. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "I know this is hard for my parents. Having you here, I mean. I can see that Mom has feelings for you that she doesn't know what to do with. And I can see that David is worried about losing us." Michael was amazed by this girl's maturity. "You don't miss much, do you?" "I'm a reporter. I notice things." Carmen closed her book and looked directly at Michael. "But I want you to know something. Having you here makes me feel safer. Not just because you're paying for everything, but because you care about me. Really care about me." "I do care about you, Carmen. More than I expected to." "Good. Because I'm going to beat this cancer. And when I do, I want you to still be part of my life. Not as my mom's old boyfriend, but as my friend. Someone I can call when I win my first journalism award, Or when I need advice about life. Michael felt his throat get tight with emotion. I'd like that very much. Then promise me something. What? Promise me that whatever happens between you and my mom, you won't disappear from my life again. I know you left once before, and it hurt her. Don't hurt me the same way. Michael reached over and took Carmen's hand. I promise you, Carmen, no matter what happens with the adults, I will always be here for you. Good. Carmen smiled and settled back into her pillows. Now, will you read to me? David was right. Your voice is perfect for bedtime stories. As Michael began reading aloud, he realized that this 16-year-old girl had just made him make the most important promise of his life. Whatever happened over the next few weeks, whatever happened between him and Sophia, he would not abandon Carmen. Some promises, he had learned, were worth keeping no matter what they cost your heart. And this was one of them. 1 week into Carmen's treatment, everything went wrong. Michael was sitting in the hospital waiting room at 3 in the morning, still wearing the clothes he had put on yesterday. He hadn't slept in 36 hours. Down the hall, Carmen was fighting for her life in the intensive care unit. The first week had gone perfectly. Carmen's blood had been collected without any problems. The laboratory had successfully modified her T cells. Dr. Chen had been optimistic about the treatment working. Then they put the modified cells back into Carmen's body, and her immune system went to war. Her temperature is 105 degrees, Dr. Chen had told them 6 hours ago. She's having seizures. We need to move her to the ICU immediately. Michael had watched in horror as teams of doctors and nurses rushed Carmen out of her regular room on a gurney. She had looked so small and fragile, nothing like the brave girl who had been joking with him that morning. Now Sophia sat in a chair across from Michael, staring at the ICU doors. She hadn't spoken in hours. Her face was white with fear and exhaustion. David paced back and forth near the windows, running his hands through his hair. Every few minutes, he would sit down, then stand up again. The waiting was killing all of them. This is my fault, Sophia whispered suddenly. Michael looked up. What? This is my fault. I should never have put her through this experimental treatment. I should have accepted the doctor's original recommendation for palliative care. At least then she would be comfortable. Sophia, don't do this to yourself. Don't you understand? Sophia's voice was getting louder. I was so desperate to save her that I might have killed her instead. This treatment is destroying her body. David stopped pacing and knelt down in front of his wife. Hey, look at me. This is not your fault. We made this decision together. All of us, including Carmen. But what if she dies? What if I lose her because I couldn't accept that some things can't be fixed? Michael felt something break inside his chest. He had seen Sophia scared before, but never like this. Never completely falling apart. She's not going to die, Michael said firmly. How do you know? Sophia turned to face him, her eyes red from crying. How can you possibly know that? Because she's your daughter. Because she has your strength and your stubbornness. Because she promised me she was going to beat this. Promises don't cure cancer, Michael. No, but fighting does. And that girl is a fighter. Dr. Chen came through the ICU doors, still wearing her surgical scrubs. All 3 adults rushed toward her. How is she? Sophia asked. Stable for now. Her fever broke an hour ago. The seizures. have stopped, but the next 48 hours are critical. What does that mean? David asked. It means her body is responding to the treatment, but we don't know if it's responding well or badly. Sometimes patients get sicker before they get better. Sometimes they just get sicker. Can we see her? Sophia asked. One at a time. For 5 minutes only. She's unconscious, but you can talk to her. Sophia went first. Michael watched through the ICU window as she sat beside Carmen's bed, holding her daughter's hand and whispering things he couldn't hear. David went next. He kissed Carmen's forehead and stood quietly beside her bed, just watching her breathe. Then it was Michael's turn. Walking into the ICU felt like walking into a nightmare. Carmen was connected to machines that beeped and hummed. Tubes ran from her arms to bags of medicine hanging from metal poles. Her face was pale, and her breathing was shallow. Michael sat down in the chair beside her bed and took her hand carefully. "Hey, Carmen," he said softly. "It's Michael. I know, you probably can't hear me, but I wanted to talk to you anyway." He looked at this brave girl who had become so important to him in such a short time. "You're scaring all of us, you know. Your mom is out there blaming herself for this. David is trying to hold everyone together. And me? I'm sitting here realizing that I care about you more than I ever thought possible." Michael's voice broke a little. "I made you a promise, Carmen. I promised I wouldn't disappear from your life. But you have to make me a promise too. You have to promise to fight. You have to promise to get better." He squeezed her hand gently. "I know this is hard. I know your body hurts and you're tired of fighting. But you told me that the best stories are the dangerous ones to tell. Well, your story isn't finished yet. You have too many important articles to write, too many lives to change with your words." Michael wiped tears from his eyes. "Your mom loves you more than anything in this world. David loves you like you're his own daughter. And I love you too, Carmen, like the daughter I never had. So you have to get better, okay? You have to come back to us." He kissed her forehead, the way he had seen David do. "I'll be right outside this room until you wake up. That's another promise." When Michael came out of the ICU, he found Sophia crying in David's arms. They looked like a family, holding each other together during the worst moment of their lives. Michael felt like an outsider looking in on their grief. Maybe David had been right. Maybe. Michael's presence was making everything more complicated during a time when they needed to focus only on Carmen. "I should go," Michael said quietly. Sophia looked up from David's shoulder. "What? You need to be together as a family right now. I'm just making things harder." "Michael, no," Sophia said, pulling away from David. "Carmen needs you here." "Does she? Or do I just need to be here because I can't let go of the past?" David spoke up. "Michael, I know we've had our differences, but Carmen loves you. She's going to want to see you when she wakes up." "If she wakes up." "When she wakes up," Sophia said firmly. "Don't you dare give up on her now." "I'm not giving up. I'm trying to do what's best for her. What's best for her is having everyone who loves her fighting for her together." Michael looked at these two people who had every reason to want him gone, but who were asking him to stay. He thought about Carmen's request that he not disappear from her life again. "Okay," he said, "I'll stay. They spent the rest of the night taking turns sitting with Carmen. Michael dozed in the waiting room chair, waking up every hour to check if there was any news. At dawn, Dr. Chen came out of the ICU with a cautious smile on her face. "Her vital signs are improving," she said. "Her white blood cell count is responding. Exactly the way we hoped. I think she's turned the corner." Sophia started crying again, but this time they were tears of relief. "Can we see her?" David asked. "She's awake and asking for all of you." They rushed into the ICU together. Carmen was sitting up slightly in bed, still pale and weak, but her eyes were open and alert. "There's my team," she said in a hoarse whisper. Sophia reached her first, hugging Carmen as gently as possible. "Oh, sweetheart, we were so scared." "I heard you," Carmen said, looking at Michael. "When you were talking to me yesterday, you told me I had more stories to write." "You do." "Then I guess I better get better so I can write them." Dr. Chen checked Carmen's chart. "The treatment is working. Your T cells are attacking the cancer cells exactly the way they're supposed to. If this continues, you should be in full remission within a month." Carmen smiled weakly. "See? I told you I was going to beat this thing." "You scared us," David said, taking her other hand. "Sorry about that. But hey, now I have a really good story about what it's like to almost die and come back. That's going to make an awesome article." Even weak and tired, Carmen was still thinking like a journalist. Michael couldn't help but laugh. "Only you would think about turning your near-death experience into a newspaper story," he said. "The best stories come from the hardest experiences," Carmen replied. "Someone needs to write about what it's really like to be a sick kid fighting for your life. Other kids going through this need to know they're not alone." Michael looked at Sophia and David, then back at Carmen. This remarkable girl had almost died, and her first thought was about how to help other people. "You're going to change the world, Carmen Martinez," Michael said. "I'm going to try," she whispered, then closed her eyes and fell asleep with a smile on her face. Outside the ICU, the three adults stood together in exhausted relief. "She's going to be okay," Sophia said, as if she needed to say it out loud to believe it. "She's going to be more than okay," Michael replied. "She's going to be extraordinary." For the first time since they had arrived in Chicago, the three of them felt hope instead of fear. Carmen had survived the crisis. Now they just had to figure out how to survive each other. Carmen's recovery over the next week was nothing short of miraculous. Her energy returned, her appetite came back, and her latest blood tests showed that the cancer cells were disappearing from her body. Dr. Chen called it one of the most successful treatments she had ever seen. But while Carmen was getting better, the tension between the adults was getting worse. Michael noticed it first during their daily conversations in the hospital cafeteria. Sophia had started avoiding him again, just like she had in Los Angeles. When they did talk, it was only about Carmen's medical updates. David was polite but distant. The three of them were like strangers trying to share the same small space. Everything came to a head on Thursday morning. Michael was reading the newspaper in Carmen's room while she napped. Sophia was updating her medical chart at the small desk by the window. They had been sitting in comfortable silence for an hour when Carmen's phone buzzed with a text message. "Mom," Carmen said sleepily, "can you check that? It might be from my friend Ashley." Sophia picked up the phone and her face went white. "Carmen, we need to talk about this." "About what?" Carmen sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. Sophia turned the phone screen toward her daughter. It showed a text message with a link to a celebrity gossip website. The headline read, "Michael Jordan's secret family, NBA legend spotted at Chicago hospital with mystery woman and sick teen." "Oh no," Carmen whispered. Michael looked at the phone and felt his stomach drop. Someone had taken pictures of him, Sophia, and David going in and out of the hospital. The article claimed that Michael was hiding a secret family and that Carmen might be his daughter. "How did they find out?" Sophia asked. "Social media," Carmen said quietly. "I posted a picture on Instagram 2 days ago. Just a selfie from my hospital bed. I didn't tag anyone or say anything about Michael being here, but someone must have seen him in the background." Michael looked at the photo on Carmen's Instagram. Sure enough, his reflection was clearly visible in the window behind her bed. "Carmen, you promised you wouldn't post anything about this," Sophia said. "I didn't. I was just posting about beating cancer. I had no idea Michael was in the picture." David walked into the room carrying coffee for everyone. He took one look at their faces and knew something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. Sophia showed him the phone. David read the article and sank into a chair. "This is bad," he said quietly. "How bad?" Michael asked. "Read the comments," David said, handing back the phone. Michael scrolled through hundreds of comments from strangers making wild guesses about his relationship with Sophia and Carmen. Some people accused him of having an affair. Others claimed Carmen was his secret daughter. A few even suggested that David wasn't Carmen's real father. "I'm so sorry," Carmen said, tears streaming down her face. "I ruined everything." "You didn't ruin anything, sweetheart," Sophia said, sitting on the edge of Carmen's bed. "This isn't your fault." "Yes, it is. I should have been more careful. Now, everyone thinks you had an affair with Michael. They think David isn't my real dad. They think I'm some kind of secret love child." Michael felt sick watching Carmen blame herself for something that was completely out of her control. "Carmen, listen to me," he said firmly. "None of this is your fault. You're 16 years old and you've been fighting cancer. You should be able to post pictures of yourself without worrying about gossipy strangers on the internet. But now everyone knows we're here. What if reporters come to the hospital?" As if on cue, Michael's phone rang. It was his publicist calling from Los Angeles. "Michael, we have a problem," his publicist said, as soon as Michael answered. "Entertainment. Tonight. Wants to interview you about your secret family. TMZ has reporters heading to Northwestern Memorial Hospital right now, and someone claiming to be Carmen's classmate just sold a story to People magazine about your hidden daughter." Michael walked out into the hallway to finish the conversation privately. When he came back into the room, everyone was staring at him. "We need to leave," he said. "Now?" "What do you mean?" Sophia asked. "I mean, reporters are on their way here. In about an hour, this hospital is going to be surrounded by cameras and microphones. Carmen doesn't need that stress while she's recovering." "Where would we go?" David asked. "I have a house in Lake Titi Forest, about an hour north of here. It's private and secure. Carmen can finish her recovery there, and we can avoid the media circus." "Michael, I can't ask you to," Sophia started. "You're not asking. I'm offering." Michael looked at Carmen, who was still crying. "Carmen, would you feel more comfortable recovering somewhere private?" "Yes," she whispered. "I don't want strangers taking pictures of me when I'm sick." "Then it's settled. I'll arrange for a private ambulance to transfer you. We can be out of here in 2 hours." Dr. Chen agreed to the transfer as long as Carmen continued her follow-up appointments at Northwestern. Within 2 hours, they were driving north toward Lake Forest in a convoy of black SUVs with tinted windows. Michael's house was beautiful. A sprawling estate on Lake Michigan with tall trees and a private beach. Carmen's eyes lit up when she saw it. "This is amazing," she said, as they helped her out of the ambulance. "It's like something from a movie." "The guest suite has a beautiful view of the lake," Michael told her. "I thought you might like writing by the window." "You have a whole suite just for guests?" "I have 6 guest suites. This place is too big for one person, but I never knew what to do with all of the space." They got Carmen settled in a comfortable bedroom with huge windows overlooking the water. A private nurse would come twice a day to check on her. A chef would prepare all her meals. Everything was perfect, except for the growing tension between the adults. That evening, after Carmen had gone to sleep, the 3 of them sat in Michael's living room, trying to figure out what to do about the media attention. "We need to make a statement," Sophia said. "We need to tell the truth before the rumors get worse." "What truth?" David asked. "That my wife's high school boyfriend is paying for our daughter's cancer treatment? That's going to raise more questions than it answers." "Then what do you suggest?" Sophia asked. "I suggest we ignore it. Eventually, people will find something else to gossip about." Michael had been quiet during this conversation, but now he spoke up. "Actually, I think we should tell the whole truth." Both Sophia and David stared at him. "What do you mean?" Sophia asked. "I mean, we should do an interview. Tell people exactly what happened. That you and I dated in high school. That we broke up and didn't speak for 25 years. That you called me when Carmen got sick because you needed help paying for experimental treatment. That I helped because it was the right thing to do." "Michael, that's going to create even more drama," David said. "Or it might stop the drama. Right now, people are making up their own stories. If we tell the real story, maybe they'll leave Carmen alone." Sophia was quiet for a long time. "What if they ask about our feelings for each other now?" "We tell them the truth about that too." "Which is what, exactly?" David asked, his voice tense. Michael looked at both of them. "The truth is that I still care about Sophia. I probably always will. But she's married to a good man who loves her and Carmen. My job isn't to complicate their lives. My job is to help Carmen get better, and then figure out how to be part of her life without causing problems for anyone else." "And how exactly would that work?" David asked. "I don't know yet, but I know that Carmen asked me not to disappear from her life again. She asked me to be her friend, not her mother's boyfriend. Maybe that's enough." Sophia looked at Michael with an expression he couldn't read. "Is that really what you want? To just be Carmen's friend?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Michael thought about the easy answer, the one that would make everything simple and neat. But Carmen had taught him that the truth was more important than what was easy. "No," he said quietly. "That's not what I want. What I want is to turn back time 25 years and make different choices. What I want is to have been there when Carmen was born. What I want is to have built a life with you instead of building a career without you." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "But I can't have what I want," Michael continued, "so I'll take what I can get. If that means being Carmen's friend while you build a life with David, then that's what I'll do." David stood up from his chair. "I can't do this," he said. I can't sit here and listen to you two talk about what you want while pretending that I don't exist. David, please, Sophia said. No, Sophia. I've been patient. I've been understanding. I've watched you fall in love with him all over again, and I've tried to be okay with it because he's saving Carmen's life. But I'm not okay with it. David walked to the window and stared out at the dark lake. I love you, Sophia. I've loved you for 8 years, but I can see that you're not in love with me anymore. Maybe you never were. Not really. That's not true, Sophia said, but her voice was weak. Isn't it? When's the last time you looked at me the way you look at him? When's the last time you smiled at something I said the way you smile when he walks into a room? Sophia couldn't answer, because they all knew David was right. I want you to be happy, David continued, and I want Carmen to have every chance at life. But I won't compete with a ghost anymore. I won't pretend that our marriage is fine when it's been over since the day he walked back into your life. David, what are you saying? Sophia whispered. I'm saying that maybe it's time for us to be honest about what this really is. You called him because Carmen needed help, but you're keeping him around because you need him too. David turned around to face both of them. I'll always love Carmen. I'll always be her father in every way that matters. But you two need to figure out what you want from each other, because this in-between thing we're doing is hurting everyone. With that, David left the room. A few minutes later, they heard his car start up in the driveway. Michael and Sophia sat in silence for a long time, both of them staring at the fire crackling in the fireplace. He's right, Sophia said finally. About what? About everything. About me falling in love with you again. About our marriage being over. About me needing to figure out what I want. She looked at Michael with tears in her eyes. The truth is, I never stopped loving you either. Not completely. I convinced myself I had. But seeing you again, it all came back. Sophia. But it's not that simple, is it? We're not 17 anymore. We have responsibilities. Carmen needs stability. David deserves better than a wife who's in love with someone else. What do you want to do? I don't know. For the first time in my adult life, I honestly don't know. They sat together in the quiet house, both of them thinking about the choices that had brought them to this moment. Outside, the lake was calm and dark. Inside, their hearts were full of storms. Carmen was getting better. The experimental treatment was working. Soon, she would be healthy and strong and ready to go home. But where was home now? And who would be there when they got there? Some questions, Michael realized, don't have easy answers. Some choices change everything, even when you're not sure you're ready for everything to change. Carmen woke up the next morning to find her mother sitting alone on the deck outside her bedroom, staring at Lake Michigan. Sophia's eyes were red from crying, and she was still wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Mom? Where's David? Carmen asked, stepping outside in her pajamas. He went back to Los Angeles, Sophia said softly. He needed some time to think. Carmen sat down in the chair next to her mother. At 16, she understood more about adult relationships than most kids her age. Fighting cancer had made her grow up fast. This is about Michael, isn't it? Carmen said. Sophia looked at her daughter with surprise. What makes you say that? Mom, I'm not blind. I've been watching all three of you for weeks now. David loves you, but You're still in love with Michael, and Michael never stopped loving you." Sophia felt her heart break a little. "Carmen, I'm sorry. This situation is so complicated, and you shouldn't have to worry about adult problems while you're getting better." "Mom, can I tell you something? Something I should have told you weeks ago?" "Of course, sweetheart." Carmen took a deep breath. "I know about the experimental treatment. I know it costs $2 million, and I know that Michael paid for it." Sophia stared at her daughter. "How do you know all that?" "Because I researched everything when I got diagnosed. I'm a journalist, remember? I investigate things." Carmen pulled out a folder from under her chair. "But what you don't know is that I also know the truth about why Michael really helped us." "Carmen, what are you talking about?" Carmen opened the folder and pulled out several pieces of paper. "I found these in your old photo albums and papers when I was looking for information about our family medical history." She handed the first paper to Sophia. It was a letter in Sophia's handwriting, addressed to Michael Jordan, but never sent. Sophia's face went white as she recognized her own writing from 15 years ago. "You kept this?" Carmen asked. Sophia read the letter she had written when Carmen was 1 year old. It explained how she had named Carmen after the name she and Michael had picked for their future daughter when they were teenagers. It talked about how Carmen's birth had made her think about the life she and Michael might have had together. It was the letter she had written but never sent, because it seemed too painful and pointless. "I don't understand," Sophia whispered. "I never sent this letter." "I know. But Mom, look at this." Carmen handed her another piece of paper. This one was a letter from Michael Jordan, dated 15 years ago, addressed to Sophia. "Martinez." Sophia read it with shaking hands. "Dear Sophia, I got your letter. I understand why you didn't send it, and I understand why you never contacted me again. But I want you to know that not a day goes by that I don't think about you and wonder about the life we might have had. If you ever need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call me. I will always be here for you and your daughter. Love, Michael." "Carmen, this is impossible. I never sent my letter, so how could he have responded to it?" Carmen smiled sadly. "Because you did send it, Mom. You just don't remember." "What do you mean?" "I called Grandma Martinez last week and asked her about it. She told me that you mailed the letter right after I was born, but then you got scared and called her crying, asking her to try to get it back before Michael saw it." Sophia's memory came flooding back. She had been so emotional after Carmen's birth, full of hormones and conflicted feelings about her life choices. She had mailed the letter in a moment of weakness, then immediately regretted it. Grandma called Michael's office and asked them to return the letter unopened, Carmen continued, but it was too late. Michael had already read it. So he wrote, "Back?" He wrote back. And when you never responded to his letter, he kept trying to find ways to stay connected to you from a distance. Carmen pulled out more papers from her folder, bank statements, charity donation records, and newspaper clippings. "Mom, for the past 15 years, Michael Jordan has been donating money to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, specifically to the pediatric oncology department where you work. He's donated over $5 million in your honor." Sophia stared at the donation records with Michael's name on them. "There's more," Carmen said. "He's also been funding a scholarship at Stanford Medical School for students who want to specialize in pediatric oncology. It's called the Martinez Family Seat Scholarship." Sophia couldn't speak. She just kept staring at the papers in her hands. And, Mom, 3 years ago, when you published that research paper about new treatments for childhood leukemia, the one that got you the National Medical Award, Michael arranged for it to be featured in Sports Illustrated and ESPN, not because it was sports-related, but because he wanted more people to know about your work. Carmen handed her mother one final piece of paper. It was a printout from a website. This is Michael's private charity foundation, the one he's never talked about publicly. It's dedicated to funding medical research and treatment for children with cancer. Guess what it's called? Sophia looked at the website header. The Carmen Foundation, giving kids a fighting chance. He named his foundation after me, Carmen said quietly. A foundation he started when I was 2 years old, before he ever met me, before he even knew what I looked like. Sophia was crying now, but they were tears of wonder, not sadness. Carmen, how did you find all this out? I'm a good reporter, Mom. And I wanted to understand why Michael Jordan would drop everything to help a stranger's daughter. Except, I'm not a stranger to him, am I? I've been part of his life for 15 years, even though he's never met me. Just then, Michael walked onto the deck carrying 2 cups of coffee. He stopped when he saw the papers spread out between Carmen and Sophia. I was wondering when you'd figure it all out, he said, sitting down in the 3rd chair. You knew she knew? Sophia asked. Carmen's been asking me very specific questions all week. Questions that only someone who had done serious research would know to ask. Carmen looked at Michael seriously. Why didn't you tell my mom about all the things you've been doing for us? Michael was quiet for a moment. Because I didn't want her to feel guilty. I didn't want her to think I was trying to manipulate her or make her feel like she owed me something. But you've been taking care of us from a distance for 15 years, Sophia said. I've been trying to honor the promise I made to you when we were 18. I promised I'd always be there for you if you needed me. Just because we weren't together didn't mean I stopped caring about your life. The hospital donations, the scholarship, the research publicity, that was all you? Michael nodded. I couldn't be part of your life directly, but I could make sure you had the resources to save as many kids as possible. Every child you saved was like keeping a promise to the boy I used to be. Carmen stood up and hugged Michael tightly. You've been my guardian angel my whole life, and I didn't even know it. You've been my inspiration, Michael replied, a little girl I'd never met who reminded me that some things are more important than basketball trophies. Sophia was staring at both of them, her mind reeling from everything she had just learned. 15 years, she whispered. You've been watching over us for 15 years. I've been loving you for 15 years, Michael corrected. Both of you. Carmen sat back down and looked at her mother seriously. Mom, David is a good man, and I love him, but he's not the love of your life. Michael is. Carmen, it's not that simple. Yes, it is. David knows it too. That's why he left. He's giving you permission to choose. Happiness. Sophia looked out at the lake, then at Michael, then at her remarkable daughter. I'm scared, she admitted. We tried this once before, and it didn't work. We were kids before, Michael said. We thought we had to choose between love and dreams. Now we know that the best dreams include the people you love. What about your life in Chicago? What about my job in Los Angeles? What about Carmen's school and friends? Carmen laughed. Mom, I'm going to be a famous journalist someday. I can write from anywhere. And you're already famous for your cancer research. You can work at any hospital in the world. And I can live anywhere, Michael added. My playing days are over. My business can be run from any city. The only thing that matters to me is being near you and Carmen. But what if we try again and it doesn't work? What if we hurt each other? Michael reached over and took Sophia's hand. Then we'll deal with it like adults who love each other. But Sophia, we've already wasted 25 years. How many more years do you want to waste being afraid? Carmen stood up again. I'm going inside to call David and thank him for being the best stepfather a girl could ask for. And then I'm going to start planning our new life as a real family. She kissed both her mother and Michael on the forehead. You two figure out the details. I'm going to write the greatest love story ever told. The true story of how Michael, Jordan, and Dr. Sophia Martinez found their way back to each other after 25 years. As Carmen walked back into the house, Sophia and Michael sat in silence, still holding hands, watching the sun rise over Lake Michigan. She's remarkable, Michael said. She gets that from her father, Sophia replied with a smile. David's a good man. Yes, he is. But you're the love of my life. Michael brought Sophia's hand to his lips and kissed it gently. Does this mean you're willing to try again? It means I'm tired of living half a life. It means I want to see what happens when we choose love instead of fear. Even if it's scary, especially because it's scary. Carmen taught me that the best stories are the ones that are dangerous to tell. They sat together as the morning light painted the lake gold and silver. Two people who had found their way back to each other through the love of an extraordinary 16-year-old girl who refused to let them waste any more time being apart. Some revelations, Michael thought, change everything in the best possible way. And this was one of them. 6 months later, Carmen Martinez stood in front of her bathroom mirror, brushing her hair. Real hair, not a wig or a scarf. Her dark curls had grown back, thicker and shinier than before. Dr. Chen said it was a sign of how healthy her body had become. Today was a special day. Today, Carmen was going to ring the bell at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The bell that cancer patients ring when they finish their treatment and are officially declared cancer-free. But first, she had something important to do. Mom! Michael! Are you ready? Carmen called down the hallway of their new house in Wilmington, North Carolina. That's right. They had moved back to where it all began. Michael had bought a beautiful house just outside of town, close to the hospital where Sophia now worked as the head of pediatric oncology. Carmen was finishing her senior year at the UNIU, same high school where her parents had fallen in love. Coming, sweetheart, Sophia called back. Carmen smiled as she heard her mother's footsteps and Michael's deeper ones coming down the hall together. They had officially gotten married 3 months ago in a small ceremony in Chicago, with Carmen as Sophia's maid of honor and David walking Sophia down the aisle. Yes, David had come to the wedding. He and Sophia had gotten divorced quietly and kindly, and he remained Carmen's stepfather in every way that mattered. He had even started dating a wonderful nurse from his hospital in Los Angeles. Sometimes, Carmen thought, love meant letting people go, so they could find their real happiness. Are you nervous? Sophia asked, hugging Carmen from behind as they looked in the mirror together. A little, but mostly excited. Carmen turned around to face her parents. I can't believe it's been 6 months since the treatment worked. Michael appeared in the doorway, wearing a suit and tie for the special occasion. How are my 2 favorite girls doing? Ready to celebrate, Carmen said, bouncing on her toes. The drive to Chicago took 4 hours, but Carmen didn't mind. She spent the time working on her laptop, writing the final chapter of the book she was creating about her cancer experience. She had already gotten interest from 3 publishers who wanted to help her share her story with other kids fighting cancer. What are you calling the book? Michael asked from the front seat. Fighting for Tomorrow, a teenager's guide to beating cancer and finding hope, Carmen replied. I want kids to know that cancer is scary, but it's not the end of their story. That's perfect, Sophia said. You're going to help so many families. When they arrived at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Carmen was surprised to see a small crowd waiting in the lobby. Dr. Chen was there, of course, along with the nurses who had taken care of Carmen during her treatment. But there were also several other teenagers, kids who were currently fighting cancer themselves. What's all this? Carmen asked. Dr. Chen smiled. Word got out that you were coming to ring the bell today. These kids wanted to meet you. You've become something of a celebrity in our pediatric ward. Carmen spent the next hour talking to each of the young patients. She shared her story, answered their questions, and gave them signed copies of the articles she had written about her experience. She told them about the bad days and the good days, about being scared and being brave, about the importance of having people who love you fighting alongside you. The treatment is hard, she told a 13-year-old boy named Marcus, who was just starting his cancer journey. But you're harder, and you're not fighting alone. Finally, it was time for the bell ceremony. Carmen stood in front of the brass bell that hung in the hospital lobby, surrounded by doctors, nurses, patients, and her family. Dr. Chen handed Carmen a small hammer. Carmen Martinez, after 6 months of monitoring, I am proud to officially declare you cancer-free. You have beaten acute lymphoblastic leukemia. You are a survivor. Carmen looked at the bell, thinking about everything that had happened since her diagnosis 8 months ago. The fear, the pain, the uncertainty, but also the love, the hope, and the incredible people who had fought for her life. She rang the bell 3 times, loud and clear. The sound echoed through the hospital lobby like a celebration. Everyone cheered and clapped. Carmen hugged Dr. Chen, then turned to hug Michael and Sophia. We did it, she whispered to them. We actually did it. You did it, Michael corrected. You're the one who fought. But I didn't fight alone, Carmen said, looking around at all the people who had supported her. After the ceremony, the 3 of them drove to a quiet restaurant for dinner. Carmen wanted to celebrate, but she also wanted to talk about the future. I've been thinking about college, she said over dessert. Oh? Sophia raised an eyebrow. What have you been thinking? I want to study journalism at Northwestern University. I want to stay close to Dr. Chen and the hospital so I can keep visiting kids who are going through treatment. That sounds perfect, Michael said. You could live at home and commute to campus. Actually, I want to live in the dorms. I want the full college experience. But I also want to volunteer at the hospital on weekends. Sophia smiled. That sounds like the perfect balance. Carmen looked at both her parents seriously. Can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret the 25 years you spent apart? Michael and Sophia looked at each other across the table. That's a complicated question, Sophia said finally. I regret the pain, Michael added. I regret the years we lost. But I don't regret the journey that brought us back together. What do you mean? I mean that if we had stayed together when we were 18, we might not have become the people we needed to be, Sophia explained. I needed to become a doctor. Michael needed to become the man who would drop everything to help a sick child, and the world needed you to exist. Me? Carmen, if Michael and I had stayed together, you wouldn't be here, Michael said. I would never have met David, never had the daughter who would teach both of us what really matters in life. Carmen thought about this. So you're saying that everything happened the way it was supposed to? Not everything, Sophia said. The cancer wasn't supposed to happen. That was just bad luck. But even the cancer led to something good, Carmen pointed out. It brought our family together. It's going to help me write stories that save other kids' lives. It taught all of us that every day we have together is precious. Michael reached across the table and took Carmen's hand. You're wise beyond your years. Kiddo, I learned from the best, Carmen replied, squeezing both her parents' hands. That evening, they drove back to Wilmington and went to visit the old oak tree behind Emsley A. Laney High School. The same tree where Michael and Sophia had shared their first kiss 30 years ago. The tree was bigger now, its branches spreading wide and strong. Someone had built a small bench underneath it and a plaque that read, "In memory of young love and second chances." Did you put that there? Sophia asked Michael. Guilty, he admitted. I wanted to make sure this place was protected. It's where our story really began. Carmen sat on the bench and pulled out her phone. Can I take a picture of you two under the tree for my book? Michael and Sophia stood together under the oak tree, holding hands just like they had when they were teenagers. But they were different now, older, wiser, marked by years of joy and sorrow and growth. Perfect, Carmen said, snapping the photo. This is going on the dedication page of my book. What's the dedication going to say? Sophia asked. Carmen showed them what she had written on her phone. To Michael and Sophia, who taught me that real love is worth waiting for, worth fighting for, and strong enough to survive anything. And to David, who showed me that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone go. Thank you for showing me what courage looks like. Both adults had tears in their eyes as they read Carmen's words. There's one more thing I want to do, Carmen said, standing up from the bench. She walked over to the oak tree and placed her hand on its rough bark. Thank you, she said quietly to the tree. Thank you for being the place where my parents fell in love. Thank you for keeping their story safe until they were ready to finish it. As they walked back to their car, Carmen between her parents with her arms linked through theirs, she felt like the luckiest person in the world. She had beaten cancer. Her parents had found their way back to each other. Her family was whole and happy and full of love. But most importantly, she had learned something that would guide her for the rest of her life. The best stories don't always have happy endings right away. Sometimes they have happy beginnings that come much later than expected. And sometimes those are the most beautiful stories of all. 3 months later, Carmen Martinez published her first book. It became a bestseller and helped thousands of families facing childhood cancer. She started a foundation that provided support for teenagers going through treatment. Michael and Sophia continued their work. He with his charitable foundation, she with her medical research. Together, they had saved hundreds of children's lives. But their greatest achievement was the family they had built together. A family born from love, tested by crisis, and strengthened by the wisdom of a remarkable girl who refused to let them waste any more time being apart. Some stories, Carmen wrote in her book, are worth waiting 30 years to tell properly. And this was one of them. 2 years later, Michael Jordan stood at the kitchen window of his North Carolina home, watching his wife, Sophia, work in her garden. The morning sun made her hair shine like it had when she was 17. She was humming while she planted flowers, the same song she used to hum when they walked home from school together 32 years ago. She's beautiful, isn't she? Michael turned to see Carmen standing in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. At 18, she had grown into an amazing young woman. Her book about fighting cancer had become a bestseller. Her foundation had helped over 1,000 families pay for experimental treatments, and she was starting her sophomore year at Northwestern University, studying journalism and pre-med. "She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen," Michael said, taking one of the coffee cups, inside and out. "I'm glad you two finally figured it out," Carmen said, sitting at the kitchen table. "Though it only took you 30 years. Michael laughed. "Better late than never, right?" "Definitely." Carmen opened her laptop computer. "I have something to show you." "What is it?" "Remember the journalism contest I entered last month? The one about writing stories that change people's lives?" "Of course. You wrote about our family's story." "I won," Carmen said with a huge smile. "First place in the national competition. The prize is a summer internship at the Washington Post." Michael felt pride swell in his chest. "Carmen, that's incredible. Congratulations." "But that's not the best part," Carmen continued. "They want to publish my article in their Sunday magazine. The story about how you and Mom found each other again is going to be read by millions of people." "Are you sure you want our private story shared with the whole world?" Carmen looked at him seriously. "Michael, our story isn't just about you and Mom anymore. It's about hope. It's about never giving up on love. It's about how sometimes the worst things that happen to us can lead to the best things." She pulled up the article on her laptop screen. "Look at this email I got yesterday." Michael read, over her shoulder. "Dear Carmen, I read your article about your family online. My daughter has cancer too, and we can't afford the treatment she needs. Your story gave me hope that there might be another way. Can you help me find resources like your family found? Thank you for sharing your story. A desperate mother in Texas." "I've gotten 50 emails like this in the past week," Carmen said. "People who are facing the same situation we faced 2 years ago. Your foundation and Mom's hospital connections have already helped 12 families get treatment for their kids." Michael felt his throat get tight with emotion. "Really? Really? Do you know what that means?" "What?" "It means you didn't just save my life. You're saving other kids' lives too. Because you were brave enough to help us, other families are getting the help they need." Michael sat down next to Carmen at the table. "I never thought about it that way." "That's because you're humble. But Mom and I see it. Every child who gets treatment because of our story is a life you helped save." Just then, Sophia came in. From the garden, dirt on her hands and a smile on her face. "What are you two talking about so seriously?" she asked. washing her hands at the sink. "Carmen won the journalism contest," Michael said proudly. Sophia spun around, her face lighting up. "Carmen, that's wonderful. And she's going to intern at the Washington Post this summer," Michael added. Sophia hugged Carmen tightly. "I'm so proud of you, mija. You're going to change the world with your writing." "I'm already changing the world," Carmen said. "Just like you change it by saving kids' lives, and just like Michael changes it by funding treatments and research. Speaking of which," Sophia said, sitting down with them, "I have some news, too." "What kind of news?" Michael asked. "The medical journal accepted my research paper about the CAR T-cell therapy, the one that helped save Carmen's life. It's going to be published next month." "That's amazing," Carmen said. "But here's the best part," Sophia continued. "The research is going to help doctors treat other kids with the same type of cancer Carmen had. The treatment protocol we developed for her is going to become the standard treatment for that type of leukemia." Michael stared at his wife. "You mean?" "I mean that Carmen's treatment is going to save hundreds, maybe thousands, of other children's lives." Carmen started crying happy tears. "So, getting cancer wasn't just something bad that happened to me. It was something that led to good things for other kids?" "Exactly," Sophia said, wiping her daughter's tears. "Sometimes our worst experiences become our greatest gifts to the world." Michael looked at these two incredible women, his wife and daughter, and felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "I have something to tell you both too," he said. "What?" they asked together. "Yesterday, I got a call from the NBA. They want to honor me at next month's All-Star Game for my charitable work with childhood cancer research. They're giving me a special award." "Michael, that's incredible," Sophia said. "But I told them I couldn't accept it," Michael continued. "What? Why?" Carmen asked. "Because the award doesn't belong to me. It belongs to all three of us. Carmen, your bravery inspired everything I've done for the past 2 years. Sophia, your medical expertise made it possible to save lives. I just wrote the checks." "So what did you tell them?" Sophia asked. "I told them I'd accept the award if they let me share it with my family. If they let me tell the real story of how a 16-year-old girl with cancer taught me what it means to be a true champion." Carmen hugged Michael tightly. "You're going to make me cry again. Good tears, I hope. The best tears." That afternoon, the three of them drove to the cemetery where Carmen's great-grandmother was buried. Carmen had wanted to visit her grave to tell her about the journalism award. As they stood by the headstone, Carmen spoke to her great-grandmother in Spanish, telling her about her successes and her dreams for the future. "What did you say to her?" Michael asked when Carmen finished. "I told her that her dreams came true, that her great-granddaughter became a doctor who saves children's lives, that her great-great-granddaughter is going to be a writer who tells stories that matter, and that sometimes love really does conquer everything, even time." On the drive home, Carmen sat in the back seat working on her laptop again. "What are you writing now?" Sophia asked. "A new article about families who are created by choice, not just by blood. About how David will always be my father even. Though you and Michael got married. About how love multiplies instead of divides when you're brave enough to share it." "That sounds like another award-winning story," Michael said. "I hope so. I want to keep telling stories that help people believe in happy endings. Even when those happy endings take 30 years to happen?" Sophia asked with a smile. "Especially then," Carmen replied. "The best stories are worth waiting for." That evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Michael thought about the promise he had made to Sophia under an oak tree 32 years ago. "If you ever need anything," he had told her, "anything at all, just call me. I'll always be there for you." He had kept that promise in ways he never could have imagined back then. Not just by answering her desperate phone call 2 years ago, but by watching over her, family from a distance, for 15 years. By funding her work, supporting her dreams, and waiting patiently for the chance to be part of her life again. "Michael," Sophia said, interrupting his thoughts, "what are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about promises," he replied. "About how the best ones are the ones you keep even when the person who made them to doesn't remember." "What promise?" "The one I made to you when we were 18, that I'd always be there for you. If you needed me?" Sophia took his hand. "You kept that promise in ways I never even knew about." "I'm still keeping it," Michael said, "every day for the rest of my life." Carmen looked up from her laptop. "Can I add that to my article? That quote about keeping promises, even when people don't remember?" "Of course," Michael said, "but only if you promise me something in return." "What?" "Promise me you'll keep telling stories that give people hope. Promise me you'll use your gift to help families like ours find their way back to each other." "I promise," Carmen said solemnly, "and I'll keep that promise for the rest of my life, just like you kept yours." As the stars came out over North Carolina, 3 people who had found their way back to each other sat together on their porch, planning ways to help other families find hope in their darkest moments. Michael Jordan had won 6 NBA championships, but he knew that his greatest victory was sitting right beside him. A family built on love, tested by crisis, and strengthened by the wisdom of a remarkable young woman who had taught them all what it means to fight for what matters most. Some promises, Michael thought, as he watched his wife and daughter laugh together, are worth keeping for a lifetime. And this was one of them. The end, what an incredible journey we just shared together. The story of Michael, Sophia, and Carmen shows us that love never really dies. It just waits for the right moment to shine again. Sometimes the biggest acts of kindness come from keeping promises we made long ago. Sometimes our worst moments lead to our greatest victories. And sometimes it takes a brave 16-year-old to remind us what really matters in life. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and tell us your city or country. Are you Team Michael, Team Sophia, or Team Carmen? Let us know what part of this story touched your heart the most. If this story inspired you to believe in second chances and the power of love, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. When you subscribe, you're helping us spread more stories of hope and kindness to people who need them most. Speaking of hope and kindness, we have another incredible true story ready for you right now. Click on the video appearing on your screen to discover another tale that will restore your faith in the power of human goodness. Remember, every act of kindness creates ripples that can change the world, just like Michael's. Promise to Sophia created ripples that saved not just Carmen's life, but hundreds of other children too. Until next time, keep believing in love, keep spreading kindness, and never give up on your dreams. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.